everyone. Welcome all to the Paladin Central Minor League. I think this is a great way to start off the week on this Monday. I'm here, Fawn the Legend, of course, joined by my man Kresnik, as we're going to head right into the very first set of the day, or I should say we should talk about the first set of the day, which is EU5 Heads versus Verosmet.
And EU5 Heads, Rosvet, two teams that have been kind of in and around the top of this region for the last couple of weeks, and even at the end of the previous month in general. But EU5 Heads, they, I think, struggled a little bit in the previous week, didn't make it to the finals, and we're going to be seeing them playing against a team with a kind of slightly revitalized roster. It's Rosvet, but they've picked up, and this is, we kind of alluded to it at the end on Saturday. I mean, it's They have Mewtwo now playing with this team, along with the Simslu and Zarini, who were with them previously. It's a team that just is slowly picking up more and more star power, still, of course, with that original core of Phobuz, who has been playing with them since the start of the first phase of the PPC. King Nick to round out the mandatory controller side of things, if they feel like that's the way they want to be drafting. So these two teams against each other, Rosvet, have looked a little bit better in the past, but EU5 Heads, I mean, they have won against worse odds before.
Yeah. And let's head right into the picks and bans. Let's just go ahead and get right on into it. And Mewtwo Simslu Zarini, man. I mean, that's something you have to be concerned about if you're on the side of EU5 Heads. Sure, they've managed to make it to the finals, but you're facing some serious star power here. Willow ban. It's been a while since I've seen a Willow ban, but I know why. I mean, it's like Simslu loves playing that character, and you don't want to have him on the Willow. He's been a menace before, and EU5 Heads don't want to be on the receiving end of that one.
Also, in general, in Europe, it's just a strong pick that you can use to counter out Vivian a little bit if your team is aggressive enough. And of course, denying healing makes Grover a little bit less viable as well. It looks like Xin will be the follow-up, also on the side of EU5 Heads. And this is actually, now that I'm looking at this, these two bans in particular are kind of anti-pirate ship bans, from what I've heard. So Willow, of course, has that, and people might be thinking, Xin, what does Xin do against pirate ship? Well, Xin does the Beyblade strategy, where you Wildfire 5 and just dash back and forth through the enemy team, and they can't stop you because you constantly get resets. So it is Jaguar Falls. It's not the best map for it, but it's not the worst. This could be the angle they start to take, and Terminus actually kind of continues to point me in that direction.
Terminus is going to be the first one locked in here, which means that they have a lot on their plate to be able to handle on the side of Rosvet, a character that we typically see in the ban column in terms of front lines, has now made his way to the actual battlefield. Terminus being locked in here means that they have to be careful about the Inara being on point. I mean, we know that Terminus does extremely well into Inara, which I believe is why they're going to try and lock in this Atlas first, if anything, see what is going to be in the back pocket of EU5 Heads. Atlas Victor already, so that's good damage and a good defensive setup for the Atlas as well.
I think the Victor also makes sense with Vivian banned. Normally, I'd prefer Vivian on this map, even Tyra, actually, sometimes, but Victor, I think, makes sense just for the raw damage output, and of course, Atlas brings a ton of control to the team that not many other off-tanks can really do. His ability to counter out healing and just pull people back in around corners, something that only Makoa can do otherwise, but Atlas does it with a significantly higher amount of damage and self-sustain.
This is a Grover. It's going to be locked in soon after the Terminus. So they've got their own sustainability. I mean, they've got a sort of death ball composition here in the works, if anything. Everyone's going to group up around that Grover and make sure they can provide a lot to them. Makoa is going to be picked in here.
It's gotta
be. You feel something on the horizon, Kresnik. Is this the pirate ship comp that we could be expecting?
Makoa Terminus are the core picks. In that, you have the Terminus to block an infinite amount of damage. You have the Makoa for the constant resetting shields. Grover, of course, AoE heals and poke coming out of it. It is straight up these first three picks. That is what that's saying to me. It could also, of course, just be a standard draft from North America. Maybe Terminus is being prioritized a little bit more. Grover, also one of the top picks in that way. But Rosvet, if this is the way that EU5 Heads end up going, they don't look really ready for it. They don't, and that third tank comes in Aura. That's going to be the one that kind of, I guess, absorbs in the interim between the shields going up and down. She'll absorb quite a bit of damage and be supplemented by those heals and the Sky Smoke Bomb for the speed and the healing too on top of that.
Okay, well, I mean, this is already a great look for them. Triple front line with a Grover and a Sky on their team. I mean, that's a lot that Rosvet are going to have to try and break through. But at the same time, they at least have the Corvus to keep him in the fight for long enough. Atlas, I don't know how I feel if Atlas is going to be the only frontliner here, and he is. That's kind of what I felt like was going to happen when I saw the draft they had so far. But Tyra, I mean, she's sort of a tank in her own right as well. So I'm not sure. I mean, whose draft do you like a little bit more here, Kresnik? I'm excited to see the pirate ship, if anything.
I'm all on Pirates here. I
Yeah.
really
Okay.
think that I think that Rosvet did not get enough to deal with it, but we've also seen it played poorly. It's not something you can
Mhm.
really just pick up and play. You need to be kind of used to it. We can head into game and see how a U5 heads decide to how they manage to handle it. But I'm just a little bit worried about how Rosvet ended up with this draft. They have the Street Justice, they have the Burn Monster, but there is so much healing they have to go through, and it's Cripple Inara. If they do stick with that, they drop it, but Cripple Inara would be really interesting actually to stop anybody from running down into that shield death ball they're going to have.
And of course, it catches out the Atlas as well, right? I mean, he's going to have to be one of the only people that's going to be on the objective to try and cap that. He's the only one that I believe can live long enough, as opposed to everyone else on the side
It
of
is Cripple.
Rosbed. But it is Cripple. This will be interesting to see how everything plays out as they head right into mid. Divider goes up, but everyone's grouping up on point. It's going to have to be a lot. You're going to have to break through. The minute that Divider goes down, it spells trouble for Rosbed already. Simsalu was brought extremely low, so he has to reconsider his options. He doesn't want to push in a little bit too far as a cripple axe goes out, finds tons of damage as well, blocking all around. 57% for EU5 heads. They have not been able to crack any sort of defensive line that EU5 heads have on their side right now. 81% already, as now Zarini has to find a way on. See if he can stop it. He gets taken out. First blood. The crossfire is already going to be here as well. As he putting in the damage, but it's not going to be enough. Everyone's being healed up too much, and everyone's too tanky. And that's going to be it. The overtime is there, but no one else can really make it to touch anymore. EU5 heads in almost 2 minutes on the clock. Even before it hits that, they're going to capture the point.
This is where this comp should thrive the most, though. Early game, before the wreckers, before the clots, this is where it should be doing the absolute most of what it has been so far. You can see this. They might actually catch out Simsi on this flank. He's going in a little deep, and he forces that shield, and now Yoinko should go down, but they're actually just matching Simsalu with this Terminus, and he can't get anything done right now.
I mean, Grover actually ended up using the Whirlwind to keep him alive, just to make sure they didn't go down, but that's going to be the first kill that we see this first kill that we see on the side of Rosbet that's going to leave EU5 heads a little bit shaken up. The Entropic Breach gets dropped, and that's so many people. You can't escape from that one. The hole in the ship has been breached, and now they're going to be the ones that end up sinking in this engagement. As there's a minute and 40 still on the clock, they were able to roll it pretty effectively forward. But Vixar is going to be taken down just as soon as they make it back. Yoinko, the hook goes out, drags them all the way back in. And they're going to be able to find plenty of hits into him, but no definitive kill as he backs up into the Burn Monster. But thanks to the positioning that Tyra was able to put down with that little flame right there, he's not going to be able to go anywhere that wouldn't have ended him up in the fire.
The Pirates have to parlay. They need to hold back and wait at least a little bit for everybody to get back together so they can move. At the very least, they needed both of their healers, right? They needed the heals to keep them alive through all of this, and that is what they were lacking. But now they have Yoinko on a flank here, kind of cutting in the middle of them, and they're spending ults for this, and they find Zarini first.
All right, where Zarini already goes down. Simply looks like he was pretty low, and they take care of him. Mutu manages to trade it out on Yoinko, but Vixar already has himself a nice double kill. King Nick is one of the only ones remaining on the side of Rosbet. As Mutu goes down, King Nick is behind him, tosses out the smoke screen, and he's going to get taken out as well. Grover with a double kill, and EU5 heads. The ship has still left the port. They're not going to stop flying forward.
Yeah, they're gonna keep this rolling forward as the cart is basically hard, almost impossible for them to stop without their full roster. They need some form of CC or something to kill them, but the CC comes in from EU5 heads first. The Dredge Anchor catching Simsalu completely off guard on that left side, and they're walled off. I don't even know if Zarini can make it to this objective, and there's too much damage for him to live long enough.
And that's going to be a 2-0 already for EU5 heads. 4 ultimates up, and we've only seen one, well, really 2, excuse me, used overall. That's going to be the Whirlwind and the Seismic Crash. Seismic Crash got used, but the Whirlwind is already back up and in the right spot here. EU5 heads lead with a 2-0 over Rosbet right now. They've got to figure out what they need to do. I mean, I guess that Burn Monster can play a huge role since everybody's grouping up, but even still, do you think that's enough? What do they have to do to try and adjust their game plan here?
Another big part of this is going to be the Entropic Breach as well coming up from the Corvus. That percentage health damage and the slow coming into the middle will make it a lot harder for them to run away from the Crossfire from King Nick or the CC from Zarini. Jithens, if you're comfortable, a top-down on this mid would actually be, I think it's the best way to spectate Pirate Ship once they all stack on that point. If we can see how they're going to be playing this. If they don't play here, then you can go to a POV, but this is, I think, the best way to watch this absolute chaos as the whole team gets spread out. But look, no one on Rosvet's really willing to go, and the one person who does dies immediately.
Simsalou died to the time bomb on the side. Vixar manages to toss it out, and Simsalou had to try and find a way to escape. He gets a 5-man setback, but that's not going to be enough. All he does is get pulled right back in. Zarini gets taken out. It's 60% already for EU5 heads as they have just now made it back to the mid on this second round here and are still in control, just as in control as we saw last time. Crossfire goes out. They found the pick. This might be what they need as Grover goes down soon after that, but they're still moving up. They're never backing down off of this one. Burn Monster goes out, throws out the firebomb, and they manage to find a kill. Vixar finds 2 already. The resurrection comes through, and Zarini is there. Divider is still out for the cripple on Zarini, means he won't be able to set back for a little bit longer until just now. It wore off with Mutu on the side. Manages to actually catch out Vixar. They managed to find 1 kill. Divider goes out once again as the cripple axe gets tossed right out and manages to root Simsalou. The Ancient Rage comes through soon after that, as now you have to deal with the Raging Makoa in the back line, but they're going to put a stop to that one. EU5 heads finally lose the mid, and Rosvet take control.
And that Burn Monster just melts that Ancient Rage like it was nothing. They just fell apart with probably no way to make it in now, especially with that mark on the sky. No way to sneak in and get past them. Term is going to try his best, but Rosvet do manage to get it off the back of that percentage shred they had. They started great on the side of EU, but Rosvet just had a solid retake, and the extended fight goes in their favor. But now EU5 heads, again, they're holding this right door, but they need to make it to this objective. They're letting that roll, and their strength is in holding this space, and they lose 1 to start.
Nara was already in front of them by the time that had happened. 4 of them were grouped up by the stairs here. And Anara was the one that went around in main and tried to see if she could get anything started, tried to hold her ground, but she goes down. Same thing can be said for Vixar and whoever else may be remaining on the side of EU5 heads here. As they're really getting brought down extremely low. EU5 heads, they have to find some sort of way to regain control of the situation. They've been dying time and time again. Cripple Axe goes out but manages to whiff. The cart has now crested and rolled around the corner, up the hill, and they manage to cripple Mutu as well. They're trying to see if they can take him out. Not going to be able to find it quite yet. Setback gets utilized, and they're still not going to be able to find anything here. As a time bomb goes out, Zarini is going to get taken out. Simsalou goes down. CEO of Shaolin manages to find that kill on the Anara here as King Nick has to back up. He has to find some sort of way out of this scenario. It's not going to push up too far. Mutu's all the way over in secret still, but they found out where he was almost instantly. He has to back up, but he makes it back in time to regroup with his team. With the barrage being here, they definitely can't group up. They have to be a little bit more careful with how they hold this positioning. Step back gets used on the Anara, and even still, you have the Makoa that has to escape out of this situation. Shell Shield ends up getting dropped still as the Divider goes out. You've got a minute left and plenty of time to decide how this fight can still go.
Yeah, Zarini already taking a lot of poke early. Look at this death ball. Mutu could just use this barrage and maybe even end this fight right now, honestly, with how clumped up they are, but he's still holding back on it. It might be a mistake because Simsalou goes down. They still evenly trade, but the rest of Rosvet have to fight. I think they can be a little bit looser on these ultimates, especially the barrage. It charges so fast as it is fun.
30 seconds still remaining to them. Divider goes out. Cripple Axe gets tossed directly into Zarini. Now you have 25 seconds, and I don't think Rosvet have any sort of opportunity to make their way in. Simsalou seems like he wants to try and force this anyway as he's moving forward. The rest of Rosvet have to find a way to capitalize on this situation. They're able to stall long enough for Zarini to make it back into the fray. He's now mounted up and ready to be there. As soon as he gets there, they now realize that EU5 heads have to back up, or not EU5 heads, excuse me, Rosvet have to back up. They put up the wall, but they are still able to contest here. This is what it comes down to. Will Rosvet be able to even things up for them, as now the fight has already begun. Simsalou in the back line with the Shell Shield being as well means that it might be a little bit harder, but the Cripple Axe goes out and Simsalou can't find it. Entropic Breach gets dropped. They have to find some sort of way out, but Zarini still gets taken down. They use the Corvus Ultimate to see if they can try and force things here, but they're not going to be able to find much. Cripple Axe goes out once again, finds another. Somebody else gets crippled because of the Anara, and now you're dealing with a situation where no one can move. EU5 heads with the 3-1.
I was a little bit concerned about them using the Entropic Breach during that push, but look how much ult charge Fopa's got from that one use. He's already at 40%. That's just from the damage the Entropic Breach does. Can I see the damage charts? I feel like he actually might be kind of up there. Number 2 on the regular numbers here, Corvus.
Oh,
Okay,
last.
okay, he's actually at the bottom. I thought that he'd be doing way more than that, but I guess it's hard to contest with a Victor and a Tyra with Burn Monster against this kind of point
Right.
stack, and you can see the discrepancy already between the Maeve and the Tyra. I gotta say, I feel like Simsalou needs to play a little slower. I think he is peaking on these flanks against a Makoa when his team's not ready to go, and that's a death sentence. He's just going to get hooked and taken down. EU5 heads are ready and waiting for him. I think the rest of the team needs to cause just a little bit of havoc first, and then they can play off that, but maybe he'll go off this barrage, but actually the team blocked their own time bomb and nothing comes out of it.
And that might be a little bit harder for them. The minute that happens, they want to use the crossfire. Cypher from Terminus is up, and he's able to eat a lot of those charges. And the Shell Shield is even able to eat a lot more. You have the midnight clock is struck, but at the same time, no one's been able to find anything. 60% available to EU5 heads, and they're still in control of this entire fight. Cripple Axe on Zarini, he gets taken down. Shell Shield is still up. They weren't able to break through it. 87%. The percentage keeps rising, but Rosbet are not going to be able to come in because of the seismic crash. Bobuz is on the objective, manages to get it for the overtime. But who else will be able to touch? Doesn't seem like it'll be much available to him right now. Overtime, no longer a factor. They were able to touch in the long run. Simsalou is there, so is Mutu, but they weren't able to cause any more overtime as they're now zoning them out. EU5 heads 4-1 on Jaguar Falls.
And the pirate ship sails right out of port again.
Yep.
It works when you don't have the counters, and EU5 heads banned the 2 most prominent counters in a way that didn't look like they were going this direction. They didn't really have the read on the side of Rosbet and what was going to happen. Willow's in. Not a lot of people know about Beyblade's in as the counter to it, right? As the whirl back and forth. It wouldn't have worked as effectively, of course, because of Cripple and Nara, but just that constant cleave damage coming in from those spins would have been a big boon to the team. Unfortunately, they weren't able to have that and weren't able to have maybe some stronger counters. Quick little note, Mutu, since this game has been played, has changed his name to M and then about 10 W's. That is Mutu on the side of Rosbet with that very silly name, but there's going to be no stats that really stand out insanely, I think, just because of EU5 heads planting their butts on the point and not moving.
Yeah, and I think it really did come down to the fact that even though they had that burn monster, they had the AoEs, sure, that was great, but I just watched Tyra fire into a Terminus Siphon, and then when the Siphon had to drop, she fired into a Shell Shield, and by the time the Shell Shield dropped, the Siphon was already back up. So I mean, it really comes down to how the draft goes at the end of the day. Rosbet had what they could to try and make the best of a bad situation, but even at the end of the day, it wasn't enough for them to benefit off of it. 136k for the Victor, 125,000 for the Tyra. I mean, the damage numbers are all in perspective here, but at the same time, you have to realize that even though the damage numbers on EU5 heads weren't high, I mean, we just saw them win a 4-1 with this draft, right? I mean, that plays a huge role into everything.
I mean, the healing numbers completely mitigate that, right? They had 247,000 healing in a 4-1, which is absurd. Between them having all those tanks stacked up, of course, we'll get you there. And Rosbet, hopefully now for the wiser against these teams, you know, hopefully they now understand what to be looking out for, maybe, if that's going to be coming out. But I think EU5 heads drafted that almost the best way they could, because Terminus, Grover, Makoa as the first 3 it's a great way to hide it. The Koa kind of gives it away a little bit, but they definitely did it in a smart order. Thing is, here now, Rosbet, I believe, are going to be taking us to a map where they can play that pirate ship yet again. It's Bright Marsh. This, I think, is even a better map for it, but assuming they're prepared and know what they might be picking, it's a lot harder to kind of sneak that past them.
Well, let's head right into the picks and bans, as Bright Marsh is going to be our second map here, as Krez just so greatly pointed out. It's the fact that we're moving from one close quarters map to another close quarters map, and another map that we've actually seen pirate ship on. Do you think they drafted a second time, considering the bans they had last time? Do you feel like they're comfortable enough to be able to draft it again?
They probably shouldn't. Realistically, it isn't really an every game strategy. Willow's already been banned first, so maybe we're seeing that direction, but it's definitely, again, not an every map strat, especially if Rosbet just banned Term, but that does also sacrifice that Genos, or... Well, okay, they're sacrificing that Genos and that Vivian. I was going to say, I mean, that is one way to do it. Term is one of the most integral parts, but you can actually run Atlas instead. There are other options. This now to me just looks like EU5 heads targeting Simsalou. He hasn't looked the most comfortable on that Maeve, especially against Makoa, any form of CC. So forcing him maybe onto that could make things a little bit harder for Rosbet to play around. And Genos and Vivian both get through just because they don't want to play against Pirates again.
And let's see if EU5 heads locks in any of those characters first. We've seen Genos locked in more than anything, and can imagine that he'll be locked in this go around.
It's probably Vivian because
Oh,
they banned
Vivian.
Willow
Okay,
Eevee.
that's a
That
good point.
because
That's a great point,
yeah,
actually.
no
Yeah,
way to slip
that
under the
makes sense.
shield. So I think it makes the most sense.
Hmm.
They are giving away Genos Corvus to Rosvet now, though, which might be a little scary, but I think it is. You can play around it. They just maybe need to play a sustained game kind of strongly here. But Rosvet go Nara instead. I mean, they really must be traumatized from that last game because they've already
Right.
banned or picked every single tank that was in that game minus the Atlas. And they grab Andro for Simsi, who looked all right on it before. Some powerful games, some games we struggled a little bit. So that hot and cold, maybe they're just hoping they lean a little bit closer to the hot. And they want that accursed arm to shoot under Vivian's shield.
Yeah, Nara and Drox is so far a combination that we've seen be locked in almost instantly, multiple times when it is prevalent to the team that might want to pick them. EU5 heads with the Vivian lock in first more than anything. And of course, that leaves open either one of the pocket picks. I can only imagine that you
Both
would
of
want,
them.
you know,
Oh,
right,
God.
exactly. And I can only imagine that you would honestly, personally, I can understand if the Genos would be locked in here. I mean, it feels out a lot, but the Corvus is actually going to be locked in here. They want that survivability. They want the sustain. What do you see here? Why
That's
this
a
over the
gamble.
Genos?
That's a
Okay,
gamble to me because
explain.
the Rosvet have Inara. There's a lot of teams that don't like the
Mm,
Inara Genos
that's a good
pairing.
point. Okay.
So I think it's just a gamble thinking they won't take it.
Right.
I think the smart thing for Rosvet to do is take it. I think they go solo tank Inara Genos Grover. I think to me that makes the most sense here out of the picks that are remaining, especially with Willow Band. Grover not quite as effectively countered, but I like the direction that EU5 heads went. I like that they're saying, all right, well, listen, we'll get our priority off tank. We'll take away something that your tanks are
Here we
comfortable
go.
with,
It's the
but
Genos.
Rosvet are going to get that Genos instead. EU5 heads. Now, they're not too unhappy with it, but they get to play against a Tiger being boosted by that Genos as well. That's a duel that Tiger can win, actually, from that Tiger playing into the Vivian.
I mean, Tiberius wins a lot of trades anyway based off of combat chance, right? It's hard to fight into that when you have to deal with him being stim boosted by himself. Getting hit for 650 a shot, that hurts a lot when it comes down to it. Tiberius is going to have a lot of presence in his back pocket with that Genos added onto it. It's going to be like 750. It's going to hit even more than
Yeah.
before on the side of Tiberius. So that's going to be hard for any of them to play into. They lock in the Koga here with EU5 heads being the last character, and Torvald, and we've seen
That's
this
the second
before,
pocket.
baby. It's the Torvald Corvus Koga, if anything. I'm a little bit
Torvis.
concerned. The Torvis. Yeah, we did call it that before, if anything. I think we called it the Torvis, or we called it the Toga, I think is what it was with Torvald and Koga. I mean, it's a prominent pick, or a prominent pick when it does get let through.
Mhm.
We see Torvald rise to the occasion multiple times nowadays. I mean, we've seen it a lot more consistently than we did when this phase first started. How do you feel like this? How do you feel like this double pocket will play into what Rosmet have drafted so far?
I think the Tiger might have a better chance at living through it as long as he has a mark on him. The combat trance healing plus the bragging rights healing from hitting shots definitely adds up a little bit. I think this Shaolin will make things a little bit harder, though, I would say. The cripple onto the Koga if he's in the middle of the run definitely doesn't hurt the Vivian very much, but it will hurt that Koga mid-dash, will force him to rush that resilience. And of course, just having your first shot completely nullify the shields completely will help quite a bit. I wanted to make a quick note. Someone in chat said before we go into game, Mutu, they said they're targeting Mutu with the Will Weaver ban, but I actually was thinking that was Simsi's pick on Andro. It's got to be Mutu on Andro, right? And then probably Simsaloo on the Tiberius, which might be why they've gone that kind of unique angle.
Yeah, maybe. I mean that could be a very interesting way to sort of do things, but in the long run, I'm curious to see how this is actually going to play out in game once we head right into it on Bright Marsh. Both of these drafts seem very interesting in the long run. Very interesting drafts. Very good look for both teams. Honestly, I feel like they're comfortable in the things that they've drafted on both sides. But at the end of the day, I am scared of the Koga Torvald double pocket
It is
purely based off of
scary.
the fact we've seen this before exactly on this map when it got played previously, and it tore through all the front lines, the back line. Everyone got melted the entire time. So I'm a bit concerned. Of course, it only
Mhm.
begs to say that we have to see it actually in action to see if they can play well into it on the side of Rosbet. But I don't know, man. I mean, I'm a little bit concerned because I've seen this be the case before.
Look at this matchup in mid, though. Kofigs on CEO Shaolin on this Atlas is... This is not a matchup you can really take without the right build, but he lives. Perfect timing on the second chance. Great use of the stasis field. to keep himself going. And EU5 has, they have solid control of the outside, but the inside is completely owned here by Rosvet. They do need to trade off because of that damage, but they could just keep getting off and getting back on, and especially if Sereni's going to get kills on the other point tank like that.
Yeah, one of them already goes down with 51% available to Rosvet so far. EU5 has to find some sort of way to stall them on the cart because they've been losing control over apartments slowly but surely. Vixar got brought down so low. Same thing can be said for Passivo. Immediately on the Torvald, he goes down. So does Yoinko. You only got really 3 members left on the side of EU5 heads. CEO of Charlotte managed to find one, but Mutu with a beautiful shot is going to find 2 members on the team of EU5 heads. No one else can really make it in. I mean, Corvus is there, sure. But what's he going to do? He's going to die almost instantly. Overtime is no longer a factor here as Rasbet are now in control. They've already captured 1 point.
Yeah, it was a dominant mid by them, honestly. I feel like the aggression onto the Torvald really hurt Rosvet. It's one of the weaknesses that Torv has. He can help his other team when they get dove, but if he's the target, it makes it a lot harder, and this map is tight enough where you can get on him and find those kills. And it seems to be the priority here. Look at this, Serini just abandoning the card to flank and kill Passio. Everyone trying to collapse on him basically right now with that turnaround. I thought there was more people there. Mutu was still there, and the kills are all going the way of Rosvet.
I think this Genos is playing so well, and I'm not too sure what the key is for it, President, but you can mention this. Can we see the items real quick, because I'm actually curious to see how everything is playing out on the side of not the cards, the items. Yeah, so it's F6 on the keyboard, or it's just for the items, and I want to see. Okay, so no wrecker whatsoever. All the cauterize. I mean, it makes sense. You want to be able to try and stop that Corvus healing, but I feel like this Genos is playing a huge role into how these guys are getting melted so quickly. Whenever Torvald doesn't bubble, that leaves everyone else vulnerable. Even if Corvus can heal them, sure, but it's hurting them, and you can physically see that. It's really putting a damper on everything. Vixar can't even peek properly. The minute he does, you see one cripple arrow, even without the Genos buff, is going to be enough to put him just completely delete this shield. And now you have the Androxus up here, applying pressure with the accursed arm, looking for a proper opportunity, keeping the Vivian locked down behind the wall. They don't want Vivian to peek. Yoinko can't even do anything as they make it a 2-0 on the side of Rosvet. This is looking like how Jaguar Falls went last game. Pirate Ship isn't a factor here, but Rosvet, they're pretty intense right now with how their draft has been.
What I'm thinking the problem might be here for you 5 heads, and hopefully I'll actually, this isn't more of an open question. Any PCML players in chat, tell me if you think I'm wrong. I think it's the fact that they drafted an anti-dive comp against not dive, against triple poke with a Genos. I just don't think they can win that a lot of the time. I was originally kind of riding high on this double pocket, but they really have no way to get aggressive and win these fights. Everyone on the Rosvet can disengage. They have so much damage to overwhelm the people coming in. It's just too much, I think, for this comp to try to survive through. Corvus and Torvald are great for when the fight happens very quickly, but the fight is not going fast with Rosvet. They're playing patient and not giving the U5 heads a lane to come in.
24% already available to them. Because now you have the Atlas, of course, moving over and using the temporal divide, seeing if you can stop anyone. With 45% it's still available to Rosvet. They've now gotten off of the point and want to put on this pressure. The heavy blade goes out, snaps its fingers, and everyone's slowed. If anything, he wants to use the Koga ultimate, see if he can do anything. But the minute that happens, he gets bubbled up and kept alive. But I can't say the same for both the Vivian and the Torvald on the side of EU5 heads. 84% available to him. Rosvet with a beautiful through time in space as well. 96%, but it doesn't matter. No one else can touch, as Vixar can't even take advantage of this scenario. King Nick finds the last hit, but Rosvet are going to lead this with a 3-0.
Well, just a completely dominant mid again. At least they didn't put the Atlas against the Inara this time on the objective, but still completely stalled out by the overwhelming damage that came in from Rosvet here. Look at this aggression, too, from Serini right now. He just walled in Yoinko. Can't get the kill because Vivian just very hard to take down, but Kofix dies in the meantime, trying to slow them down on the other angle to save that Vivian, and now they just have to run forward. Yoinko just knows he can't do anything else, so he'll go and die. Rosvet in a perfect position to move this in, and not many ultimates even been used by U5 heads yet. 2 tank ults without a lot of impact in the game, but they need to be impactful. I think the U5 heads want to have a chance to get this to a 3-1.
Minute 40 seconds still available to him, and the reason why I even point out the time is because look at how far up the cart has already made it so far with that much time on the clock. Vixar gets eliminated. Torvald is going to go down next. CEO of Shaolin, of course, he's there, but he won't be there for much longer as he gets taken out. Will this be a 4-0? It will be on the side of Rosvet. They clap back just as hard as Jaguar Falls went for them. They was a very bad time on Jag Falls, but this time around, they're going to make it worth their while.
Yeah, I think they just could not break through that damage line. It was a great draft by Rosvet and well played by them too. Really felt like there was no weaknesses in what they were trying to do. They walked over to the right. Their EU5 head's taken a little bit of ground on the far side. Like, all right, I think we're ready to go. Our Atlas is dead. All right, maybe we can. Oh, they've sent 2 people onto our Torvald, and now he's dead. They just had no way to actually bust through, and you can tell by just looking at the deaths. I mean, Simpsy, 3 times the deaths of the rest of his team combined. Yes, but that's because he was the one kind of getting aggressive and willing to be that sacrificial lamb in the core of their team. But the tanks, I think, really struggled here. Torvald not even breaking 1,000 credits, and I don't think I've ever seen that, honestly.
Actually, yeah, that's a good point. Even on most 4-0s that we've seen, I've never seen anybody below 1,000 credits either. So that goes to show how well this game went for EU5 heads, if anything. I mean, that was very clinical. I mean, and I'm so glad you brought that up earlier. The fact that EU5 heads had drafted an anti-dive composition with no dive. They were getting poked at the entire time. I mean, Mutu was bringing them low extremely well, consistently. Vixar peaked multiple times. What happened? Cripple arrow. His shield's gone, right? What Torvald just did no longer mattered. And Vixar even had to play a little bit more careful with how he wanted to approach around those corners because he knew Mutu was watching. Shaolin is going to hit you way harder, hit you for 1150, if anything, with that Genos pocket. Simsalu's hitting you for a lot. So is King Nick. I think that Genos pick was very, very strong there. Personally, for me, I think it would have been better if EU5 heads got the Genos in their own back pocket for that, as opposed to the Corvus, because that's why I was like, well, maybe they're going to end up locking in the Genos here. I think that makes the most sense. The Corvus just wasn't enough for that go around, but we're going to head right back into the picks and bans for what is the final game of this set. Warder's Gate, Kresnik, a map we haven't seen. Gosh, when was the last time I even remember casting Warder's Gate on,
listen.
Podcast?
You'll be seeing it a lot more next patch.
That's true. You're right. You're right.
Because I feel like teams might be banning some of the newer maps, right? With Bright Marsh out, I think I fully expect to see teams maybe banning the new Frozen Guard because they're not maybe used to that. I could see teams, some of them going back to banning Ascension Peak. There's a lot of wide maps in the next patch that is going to make things a lot more difficult. Ruckus as the first ban top priority, it's Warder's Gate. Yeah, it's gotta be. Ruckus can fling himself into the back line from so far away. I think you kind of have to get rid of it. As Rosvet adapt their bans a little bit, Grover is the pickup on the ban column for them. That's something we don't normally see as much in Europe, and maybe they're just targeting different parts of the pirate composition that they thought would be a problem, but Shaolin also to follow completely different bans from what we're seeing. It's like a different meta from the first game.
Right.
Here in the ban phase.
Exactly.
4 completely different bans!
This is
We haven't seen Rome all day!
What is this is
What?
This is weird. I mean, you're right. It's every game has been different bans for different reasons, and now this is these 4 bans now are indicative of what we've been seeing in every other region, right? This time around, as the set has been evolving, we haven't really seen those, but I guess it's neither here nor there. EU5 heads, they're gonna lock in the Inara first. Both pocket picks are open, so you have the Genos, you have the Corvus to be available to you on the side of Rosvet. In the long run of things, of course, we only be able to see what's going on. Genos is going to be locked in first. That's going to be a great look for them. Maybe the Androxus, I'm not too sure. It's up to them. I mean, we saw it last time. King Nick was able to play the Androxus. Man, it does. They're going to lock that in.
All 3 of their damage dealers can play it, so why not? Right. Now, I think, in my eyes, no reason not to at least lean in that direction. But EU5 heads have a couple answers here. They get the Corvus, and now I doubt they're going to go kind of a similar style to last time. I think maybe they go for someone who could trade into that Andro better. Honestly, Makoa wouldn't be the worst off tank, but they go Ash instead of very safe first 3 picks. I mean, you can grab those 3, plop them on any map, and you're not feeling bad.
Right.
Maybe Timber. Maybe you don't want those 3 exactly on Timber Mill, but I have a feeling I don't know when we're ever going to see Timbermill played again, and hopefully
Yeah,
I
I'm
didn't
not
jinx
too sure
anything for the next map rotation fun.
I mean, I'm not sure. For a second, for a brief second, when you said Timbermill, I was like, Timber. Oh, right, yeah. It's been
What?
that long, right? Like it's
Timbermill?
been so long since we've even seen Timbermill, let alone mention the name of
Yeah,
that map. But Genos Androxus Terminus Vivia. This is a good draft. I like this draft a lot.
Eevee, because
Okay.
every EU team thinks Eevee hard counters Vivian, which
Okay.
maybe it does. Who knows? They have bigger brains than we do.
Very true.
Victor. Oh,
Okay. Oh,
that's
wait,
one. Unless I'm getting trolled.
wait.
Unless I'm getting trolled, and now they have to get a hit scan for. They had to get one. They had to get
Hey.
one. I
Okay.
mean, it was
Okay.
also literally the best two possible. It just makes sense. Eevee Victor as the last two for that team in Rosvet. I don't know if they're gonna. They have to go a. They have to go a second. They don't have to go a second Tiger. They have to go a third DPS. Their team is definitely a triple DPS team built from the ground up. So it's going to be Tiger again. Tiger, I think, trades pretty decently well into the Victor. I just don't know about the Eevee Tiger matchup, and I think that's just more my lack of experience playing either of them.
Yeah, so Tiberius is going to be the last lock in here. I mean, I don't know, man. I have a little bit of a bias towards comps that already have the Genos on them, but let's see how it works out for them on Warder's Gate here as we head right into game. That Genos buff is just so strong, man. I mean, 750 with combat trans with Tiberius. I really do. I really love the Genos Tiberius combo. As someone that's played that combo a lot, I love that combo.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
combo makes you feel unstoppable when you're playing Tiberius. I will say that for sure.
I'm kind of waiting for Zarini to pick up some rejuvenate here, just to get that triple buy right out of the gate, which you can do
Yeah.
these days with the
True.
new improved start there. I think a lot of people are probably pretty happy to see Mutu Andro. I mean, literally the one of the main Andro maneuvers is called the Mutu flick, and that's for
Yeah.
good reason. With him diving into the back line very early, just getting stalled here by Yoinko a little bit, but he is a massive threat for them to think about as he floats above and behind them, and Kofigs is dangerously low.
We'll see what Shaolin, aka Kofigs, is going to be brought low, just as you were mentioning beforehand. Kresnik. Mutu is there, manages to land a shot directly on an Eevee and forces out the Soar, which is a good look so far. It seems like Rosabed around the map have sort of been making a lot of these stronger plays, but just as I say that, Yoinko is going to find the first kill onto Simsulu almost instantly. The commentator's curse is still prevalent, never doubted, I guess, if anything. 36% to 27 on the side of Rosabed. They were doing so well in the beginning, but now here they are struggling a little bit as they're now trying to make sure that they can reclaim this objective here. Mutu lands good shots on the Yoinko. He's going to find the finishing one and make sure they now are in control of the objective here. 51% has now taken the lead over the difference between them and EU5 heads.
And EU5 heads, they have a multiple ways to get in and get that last touch, right? They have Ashe, they have Eevee, they even have Corvus if it really comes down to that. So lots of ways to make that happen. But Mutu body blocks Passimo immediately, knowing from him come in. But actually, that's enough of a distraction for Kofigs to make it in and touch that objective with Mutu now going around the side. This fight's probably going to decide the most of this, but Vixar sense isn't high enough to track Mutu.
Well, the Cursed Arm's already here. They know that Corvus is around the corner, doesn't find the damage they need to cement the kill, but does find enough damage to make sure that Corvus doesn't peek again for quite some time. Yoinko with a nice double kill is going to make sure that EU5 heads stay in control of the objective, and they manage to capture it. What looks like Rosmet turning the situation around just ended up plopping right back into the open arms of EU5 heads. They've captured this point and made the objective work for them, and they have a zone to capitalize on.
The generous triple DPS here, not as effective, I think, on this map, at the very least, against this comp, too. I think the NR Ashe cross a much bigger gap here. And look at King Nick just deleting Vixar. Passimo knows he's dying, by the way, so he goes right to that crystal with that ultimate to get away. And at this point, just the stagger zone for them. I gotta say, I hope we see a little bit more Tiger. I think from these teams, I feel like as I play him a little bit more in some games, I feel like he's a little bit underexplored in some of these situations. I'd love to see him used more with his ult from ability, just the combat trance to win 1v1s, and the blade is just so powerful when you can do stuff like that with it.
Yeah, 1 minute and 30 seconds still remaining to them. Zarini has managed to find the kill directly onto Yoinko, which is a good look because now everyone's grouped up over here. You do have the heavy blade combined with the fact that they also have blade dance in case they want to end up using it. But already they found 2 kills for themselves. Rosbet are now making sure that they turn the situation on its head. What seemed to be a very in-control match for EU5 Heads has now turned tail end towards Rosbet, as now they found another kill in the form of the Inara. 1 minute and 5 seconds still remaining to them. And plenty of time to make it back to the cart if you are EU5 Heads. But even at the same time, Rosbet are in good enough control of the situation to keep them from making it back.
As they hold this line here for now, I think it is gonna be tough for U5 Heads to break through unless they spend an ultimate or two. I could see maybe the barrage getting spent just to kill someone, but actually Rosvet are giving a lot of this ground up because of that stacking by U5 Heads. They want to keep them surrounded, as you are one to do with triple DPS. But are you ready for this? The Corvus healing is so good, but Mutu doesn't push. Vixar afraid of that little bit of healing, but Zarini will get that kill for him.
Already, this being the case, it seems like Mutu wants to find more damage into Corvus. They do find the pick as well. He was free firing onto that Corvus for a long time. Nobody was really able to stop him at the time they may have wanted to. It just doesn't end up working out that way. 10 seconds available for EU5 Heads, if anything, as now Passio is in a very good spot right now behind Rosbet. He's going to dash right on in, try and see if he can knock Sipsaloo off of the map. Not going to find it, but does find at least a good amount of the damage. 1-for-1 trade already. Not going to use the Resurrect here, as now Sipsaloo's in the back line. Throws out the Heavy Blade, manages to get the knock, but not going to be enough. That's going to be thanks to the resilience, I believe. That's going to keep him alive, but not for much longer. You still can't live long enough when you have 2 people already on you. Overtime, still a factor here. Still holding on, just barely trying to live. You do have the Inara that goes down. The shoulder bash was started by Ash. She wanted to try and see if she can make it onto the point to contest, but it's still not enough time for her. Took a little bit too long on the start for the shoulder bash, and that's going to be a 1-for-1 tie.
I love watching the way Mutu plays Xandra on this map, the way he just kind of glides and pokes from a pretty long distance. So it's been nice to see that being played that way. I think it's one of the better ways to play Antro, especially with when they had that old damage reduction float card, but unfortunately it doesn't exist anymore here. King Nick, very hard for EU5 Heads to pin down so far, even with Yoinko kind of going to trade that out, but it's really hard for him to stay in. But a lot of strong ultimates for EU5 Heads, I think, will be what helps them the most here. A lot of CC and only resilience being built on Zarini so far, so as long as the assert dominance from the Ashe doesn't get blocked by the shield from the Vivian, they should be able to at least clean up 1 kill off of this. But going to be hard with Mutu in your backline like this. Exactly the same start as last time, exactly the same attempted counter, but that's a lot of pressure that Yoinko has to on Yoinko here, trying to hit air shots on a floating Mutu. And look at Possible already on King Nick, and they finally team up and get him.
They not only managed to find 1, but they find 2 on the tail end of that. Genos tries to find a way to escape, but he's going to be caught just barely. As now they have Mutu all the way in the back line. They know that he's low. Ice Block is there. Ash taking most of the brunt force of that for him, but he's still going to get taken out. Sipsaloo finds the hit, uses the blade dance, dances around the battlefield, cutting everybody up in the process. As soon as he sees the Eevee, he wants to try and see if he can find some sort of way in, but that's not going to be enough for them quite yet. They don't manage to body block the Ash, but they still do manage to get the kill. Heavy Blade goes out, manages to find the slow on Victor. Same thing can be said through time and space. Seismic Crash, both of them used, traded out, and they are going to be able to find that kill onto Inara regardless of that. Mutu is still there. Ice Storm gets dropped, but it's not going to be able to find much of what they wanted. Vixar finds the kill. Now we have Eevee trying to see if she can get out of this situation. Doesn't want to be down there. Wants to make sure that she maintains the high ground that they have, but no one's on the cart, or on the point, excuse me, this entire time that fight happened.
Yeah, and look at this, though. They're also getting flanked, even though they managed to get onto the objective of U5 Heads. Getting back in after a tough start here, but they lose their healer, and they have to be so careful now. All that damage that they take is going to stick, and they've already lost one of their prime backlines here. They should at the very least get 1 out of this, and it's a pretty important pick, but it will be a trade. 1-1 for it. E5 Heads barely hanging on. Only 1 player left.
They're already 96% available to them. Kinetic Burst gets toggled on, and they do manage to knock them back. That's not going to really give them the amount of time they may have been looking for. Void Grip directly on to the Corvus as well, with Rosbet managing to capture another point in the back pocket for them. 2-1 already. As Vixar manages to get shot in the back on the escape there. Yoinko manages to find good shots into Mutu, but he gets healed right back up thanks to the Genos. As Eevee is here, Ice Block almost instantly blinks up, blinks back, and manages to find another good shot onto Mutu, but not enough to cement the kill. Mutu can't say the same for him, though. He's trying to find the damage onto Yoinko, but he gets healed back up thanks to the support, just like how Mutu was in a near-death situation and got healed back up by the Genos. Cart is rounding the corner, but even still, no one's been killed yet. As everyone's still trying to bide their time, trying to see if they can find anything that works out for them.
Yeah, very hard to make this happen here for Rosvet to walk in. Look at this,
Oh!
though. Rosvet, they get a pick on Kofigs immediately and a second one on a Vixar.
Already with the 3-time in space, they managed to find one kill on the Inara. Zarini picks up one on the Vixar, but Passivo already with the double kill means that they're going to be able to hold on a little bit better than Rosvet might want them to be able to hold on for. 1 minute and 30 seconds still available as the cart is almost to the finish line here. With 30% on the assert dominance, used it to try and gain control when that cart was rounding the corner. Managed to work out for him, but you still got 1 minute and 20 left. As Passivo is still firing those shots where they can. You know that Androxus is right there, throws out the little kinetic shield, or throws out the shield right there as he's trying to escape. Mutu ends up backing up directly into Inara. They find more and more kills that allow them to have this hold over Rosvet.
They have a great hold here, and it's I think tough for them to break through on the side of Rosvet because they're playing into double tank, right? They have a tank in both lanes, and it's not quite as easy to get through, especially since now they need to actually rotate over. They're giving an opening here by having one tank in each lane, and look, there was no tank in the way. Passivo a little bit slow to rotate, and they get Vixar, and Passivo dies trying to save him.
Mutu Simsalou finds not only one, but finds two. That's double kill for Simsy, as now Inara manages to find one. They're trying to see what they can do, see if they can put a stop to the aggression that Rosvet have on their side right now. Yoinko goes down. Same thing can be said for the Inara. Eevee, Inara, both out of the fray here. 20 seconds still remaining for Rosvet overall, as there is a 15-second timestamp remaining on the clock. You have the barrage available to him. You have a situation where Yoinko pushes in, not going to be able to find the kill that he needs, as everyone is now on cart. 4 seconds available to him, as you now have a situation where overtime has to now be considered towards the tail end of this fight. The Magic can take care of Zarini. Now they got rid of the Inara, and it's still 1-for-1 trade. Resurrect goes out. They managed to find plenty of time to find another kill in the back pocket of EU5 heads. Grenade gets tossed out. Vivian gets brought low. Will they get the kill? Not too sure, honestly. That's going to end up being the case, but overtime is still a factor for them. Nothing really too crazy. Yeah, they might actually be able to force them off. I don't think they'll be able to roll this one in.
And that's so hard for Rosvet to accept because they spent the reanimate for it. It's just the Victor plus the Ashe were too hard for them to push through. The Victor was doing so much damage. Vixar, even though he's vastly negative, his damage probably tells a different story with him holding on that high ground. And they just could not out-sustain it. The fact that it's only Zarini, once he goes down, he literally has to use the reanimate. He has absolutely no way to get through it. Otherwise, it has to get spent there. Now they won't have it for this mid, where there's also 5 ults staring them down here potentially. And again, not a lot of resilience for Rosvet. So the Seismic Crash, the Assert Dominance, all going to be impactful. Even the Ice Storm also going to be important here. I think if EU5 heads can stop Mutu from getting in the back early, and find something with Passivo, it's an easy way for a mid win, as long as they're careful about the zone after.
Yeah, already. This is a good 2-for-2 tie, honestly. It's been going back and forth consistently between both teams. The Tropic Breach gets dropped down. They are able to find some damage. 2-time in space again finds another kill. Ashe is going to get taken care of and out of the fray. Here, Foba, Zarini, Mutu, 1 kill apiece. Mutu makes it uneven by getting a double kill in his own right. Phobos finds another. That's 2 for him, 2 for Mutu, and 1 for Zarini on the Terminus. That's going to be 39% to 21, but that's a full-on team wipe already for Rosvet. They're going to maintain control of this zone. They don't want to let them through on this one.
They shouldn't want to, I'd hope. They only have an Accursed Arm, though, in the way, and I think they have great ways to touch. Again, Ashe and Eevee plus the Assert Dominance here. Eevee, though, ignores the point for now. The Tiberius does a lot of damage they have to deal with. But look at the Booby Trap, I think, knocks him in. I think it might have been Passivo instead, but they have this hold here. Assert Dominance on the point, and that's buying EU5 had some time.
Yeah, 3 kills already for EU5 heads. Means that they're the ones that control this situation now. As they've stopped Rosvet at 84%, stalled him out. They're now trying to make it even and surpass that 84% that Rosvet have on their side, and they do manage to surpass it. Now Tiberius is there. Same thing can be said immediately for the Androxus. Use the Seismic Crash directly on the objective. It lands, it finds the stun, and it finds the kill onto Simsalou. Same thing can be said as Mutu gets taken down and out of the fray here. You've got a point captured by EU5 heads, making this a 3-2. Can they roll this one in? Or are Rosvet going to end up making it a 3-3, honestly? I mean, based on how everything's been going, it seems like they might even end up being able to tie this, but only time will be able to tell that.
Depends on how quickly they can find someone. But again, the strong poke on the side of Rosvet, similar to last map, is going to make it hard for them to actually get in here. Possible already half in, but look at that. Boom. Melted through that 75% damage reduction. Hard to make that happen. And they have to use the barrage on Vixar just to slow down this push.
Yeah, already it seems like they're in more control here as the minutes go by, but Frostbite being able to find that kill means that EU5 heads won't be able to make it back to the cart in a timely manner. Ash has to stall herself out here and won't make it to the cart if anything, but do they know that Ash is there? They actually have no idea that Ash is there. Ash is going to sweep all the way around behind them. They don't know they're there. They're up so far as well. If they kill Simsalute here, they're going to be able to find that out. They still don't know that Ash is back there. It seems like they're backing up now, if anything. It seems like they're trying to force themselves back, but I think that's more so because of the damage that EU5 heads are providing. They don't know that Ash is back there. They have no idea they were backing up because of the damage. Okay, Mutu turned around. He sees that that's the case now. They do know that he's back there at this point in time. That was a close one. When I saw them backing up, I was like, okay, well, they definitely saw that they were there, but they actually didn't know. Mutu turned around. They figured out he was back there. 60 seconds still remaining. Almost a back cap from the Ash, if anything.
That is good, though, because it will pull them all away and give EU5 heads a ton of ground that they can make use of. The thing is, though, the odds of them capping without spending a single ultimate aren't that high, I think. They really want to rely on that CC to win the fight, and they can't do it. They just have to hope they can charge it up in time. But a really push right now on the far left, this Ash makes a decent amount of space. They just have to be aware of this high ground. They really don't have a way to contest it. It looks like they're being contested on the low. Possible, probably not as concerned about it as they fight and dash right into the back.
Just because he wants to use the assert dominance. And Vixar finds him, double kill on the tail end of that. 20 seconds available to them if they get rid of Mutu here. This is going to be a deciding factor. Entropic Breach gets dropped immediately. Zarini has the resurrect. He has to use it. Wall goes up, prevents the entry. If anything, Simsalute with a double kill. That's going to be a huge turn of events for them. If they would have held on with all of their teammates, that's going to be crazy. Simsalute finds so many kills off the tail end of that. They tie it up at a 3-3 on Water's Gate, as this is the last point of the last set of the EU bracket.
A lot of ultimates being spent there as well in EU5 heads. They still have their Seismic Crash to play off of, but almost everything spent basically by Rosvet. They use the Reanimate. They're going to have the Blade Dance soon, but losing that Accursed Arm, I think, is a really big deal. That was one of their best ways to get burst damage onto this back line, if you can catch them out. But Zarini hoping, I guess, he can charge it up fast enough, but still no resilience being bought by any of the DPS on Rosvet, so it's still going to be easy for them to catch them out. And Possible is charging his ult so fast. He almost got 2 last fight, and now he has morale boost too. Guaranteed to see that coming up pretty quickly. The engage is probably going to look about the same. Possible just has to be, I think, a little more careful not to get completely locked out by this Genos. We can see this initial start here, though, with him. Look how passive that Vivian is. They fear the Ash aggression, and how he's in the core of their entire team and gave some good burst to the Tiger.
Already, they're putting a lot of damage on Zarini. Zarini gets taken out. That's already a great look for EU5 heads, as now they've maintained control over this objective. Means they can't push in through time and space goes in, but it's going to go wild this time around. Not going to quite find the mark there. Simsalute behind. He's already brought pretty low. Grenade gets tossed out, and it blows them up. 39% for EU5 heads here, as they are now going to have to push forward. They got to get those dismounts. They got to keep them making it back to cart. The drones are there. Vivian asked the age-old question, have you met her friends? And Ash might know him a little bit too well as she gets taken out of the fight. 78% available for EU5 heads. They might be able to make it back, and they are able to touch as you have the barrage gets utilized immediately. Simsalute is going to get taken out of this fray, as now the rest of them have to find some sort of way to maintain control of a bad situation. Mutu finds 1 kill on Yoinko, and they are now in control of the situation they were trying to retake. 93% for EU5 heads, and they're still trying to fight on both sides.
Yeah, they have that control still, but Zarini has to be so safe with his life, because if he goes down, this becomes a desperate overtime situation for a bunch of squishies. But here comes the Blade Dance from the Tiger into the backline. He almost dies, but uses it just to live, but it's still 1 for 1 on the point.
They traded it 1 for 1, just as you mentioned beforehand. Kresnik Pasiwo has to find a way to get back to cart. He almost has the assert dominance. That'll play a huge factor
here as they keep this fight going on this objective. Admin actually gets a kill with that Entropic Breach. That's the tank dead. That's the most important one, and it's just Zarini after using the Reanimate left on point.
Oh, my goodness. 93% already available, as it now has gotten to 99. Overtime being a factor. Yoinko is here, so is the Androxus, so is a few other members. Assert dominance immediately as they're trying to maintain control of over the objective. EU5 heads aren't going to be able to find much of that. Overtime being there, it's going to get run out. If anything, Genos can't make it to the cart. EU5 heads taking over Rosfet. What a great game, dude. What a great set. I mean, I wasn't expecting it to go to the very last one, especially not against the names like Simsalu, like Zarini, like Mutu. We've seen their type of performances before last year and even in this phase. But I wasn't expecting it to go down to the wire right there. EU5 heads, congratulations for them winning the EU finals.
Yeah, especially after making it to bronze.
Yep.
I believe they lost bronze finals last week, actually. We weren't able to see it, but quick turnaround from that, definitely figuring out the way they want to play a little bit more. And it is clearly helping them get brought to success. Rosfet, I like their take on the meta. I like the Genos Tiger. I think it's an interesting style of play. The double flanker, I think they just maybe need to have a little bit more play off of this triple DPS, maybe bust out the double tank a little bit more, but I'm really not sure who their second tank main would be. Well, I want to mention though before I throw it back to you, tough game for admin.
Yeah.
Tough game for Corvus.
That's rough. Yeah, that's 2-16. Definitely not the type of slash line you want to have. I mean, at least he has the assist with it and having that healing at 169,000. That's a great look, especially since Phobuzz manages to fall behind, but only by like about 7k, if anything. You know,
Yeah.
it's not too far behind him, but it's still, the difference is notable. The Corvus was able to keep a lot of their members on the team alive. Even though he was getting dove consistently, it was still a good look for EU5 heads. And meanwhile, King Nick and Mutu, I mean, Simpsons, all of them greatly leaps and bounds over 100,000 damage. King Nick almost making it to 150,000. I mean, that's not the type of performance you would expect to see on a losing team, even if it does go 3-3. You would think based off of the damage numbers, them firing into Pasiwo, into the Inara, that at some point they would go down a lot more, that Rosfet would have been able to overtake a lot of those situations. But EU5 heads, they were the ones that just played better.
I mean, that's the damage boost healer versus the sustain healer, right? At the end of the day, that's what it is, especially with that double tank boost left up. And I'm actually not sure what team ended up in the top seed coming out of this, but EU5 heads will walk away with the highest amount of points, and hopefully they'll be happy with the crystals that they get too. Plus, should be looking a little bit better heading into that week 4 closed bracket.
Yeah, hopefully they will look better heading into the week 4 closed bracket next week, but we're going to head right into the break, and when we get back, we'll have some more Paladin Central action for you guys. Stay tuned.
the night. The city lights are dancing, slowly falling apart. The shadows causing an outbreak. I'm wishing upon a star. This time I'm feeling stronger, and I know I can do better. The shadows causing an outbreak. I'm turning the light. We're gonna light it up, light it up. Oh, light it up, light it up. Ooh, light it up, light it up. Causing an outbreak. I'm turning the light. We're gonna light it up, light it up. Oh, light it up, light it up. Ooh, light it up, light it up. Causing an outbreak. I'm turning the lights on.
Welcome back in, guys, to the Paladin Central Minor League. We just got done watching the EU Finals, but now we're heading right into the North American brackets with the bronze match with Squid Squad versus the Deadliest Sins. I like that reference, by the way.
Yeah, Squid, as a team that got formed recently, it's also a team that has been formed, once every 2 months for the last 2 years, I think,
Right,
more or
yeah.
less, with Apache at its core. But Deadliest Sins, a team that I definitely don't recognize the name of, but I do recognize some of the players. I know a few of them from console ranked. I know Kalava is a name I've seen in and out of the scene for quite a while, so happy to see them seeing some success. I mean, making it to the semis, even if they lost, and now being able to play against Squid Squad here for points and for crystals, of course, down here. Frog Isle will be map number 1, and I'm excited to see how these teams play it, because I know Squid Squad is a team that always likes to do unique stuff, and I literally have no expectations for what I'm going to see coming out of Deadliest Sins.
Already, it seems like this match can be very well underway. It could be a very interesting match to see. We're going to head right into the picks and bans to see what these teams are going to end up drafting for each other. I don't know if we'll see what we saw last set, where there was like different bans every single game for just all different
I doubt
issues,
it.
but I doubt it as well. But we'll only be able to tell that once we actually see the first ban here. But I'd imagine it will return to some sort of normalcy between these two. Strix actually is going to find its way to the ban column. Okay, maybe not too much of a normal ban, but I mean, it is Frog Isle, so it's more of a normal ban for the map, if anything. They are going to be able to get rid of one of the snipers. Will they get rid of the other? That is the question. Vivian, on the side of the Deadliest Sins, is going to be taken out of the fray here. The Squid Squad have to decide their second ban, which will be Genos. Will they leave open one of the snipers, or do they get rid of? I mean, they're sort of at a catch-22 here. I mean, they get rid of one of the snipers, they have Corvus open. They don't get rid of Corvus, then they have the sniper open, so they have to afford to give up somebody else.
I think you take the sniper here, honestly, especially with
Yeah,
raw band. I think you can grab Kinessa and then you can play off that. Alternatively, the Corvus or a tank, but I feel like if you go Torvald instead. So now Kinessa and Corvus can be the 2 picks for Deadliest Sins, which I can't imagine they're feeling too unhappy about. Torvald's solid on this map, but not world-endingly powerful, I think. Hyper Beam is, of course, great on this map with all the ways to knock people off the edge. But Torv is also mostly anti-aggression, and now you've given them Corvus Kinessa. Why would they ever push you? They just win through poke.
Right. And when you have a support like Corvus, they don't need to be aggressive. They can be if they want to be, but Corvus, that means they have better capabilities to draft some more stronger backliners if they want to try and go that route. They could even go the Androxus. Androxus doesn't have to go in all the time, even though he's a flank. He has that poking capability, right? He has that ability to sit back and sort of just fire as well. He could play that sort of pseudo backline if he needs to, moving in and out where he wants to. So Deadliest Sins, I like their draft so far a lot better than how Squid Squad opened up their draft personally, but you can't argue about Torvald, Victor, and Nara. That's a great look so far in terms of it being I think this could be a very safe lineup for Squid Squad.
I would agree if Deadliest Sins didn't have Kinessa, because the way that everyone always talks about Victor on this map is, wow, Victor's so good when there isn't a sniper.
Right.
But if there is a sniper, it's significantly harder to actually get through it and make that ground. Deadliest Sins now with that Fernando. So no Terminus, no Barrack, None of the other point tanks. Nando will be the one that they have locked that area down in Atlas. So they are looking to just hold their ground and survive a dive. Atlas, whatever flanker, whatever aggressive class, whatever DPS they have pushing that danger side of the map is going to have to walk through an Atlas and walk through Kinessa damage. A lot going on that side of the map for them to have to burst through. And I don't even know if there's any DPS that really gets away with that. Maybe Eevee could be the place they go. But again, I still don't even know how successful that would end up being.
Yeah, I'm not too sure how that would end up being either. As you have a very, very confident draft on the side of Deadliest Sins. You've got Maldamba as your healer on the side of Squid Squad. Who could their healer, well, not the healer, I mean, who could their other DPS be, do you feel like, in this scenario? I mean, somebody has to be with verticality, right? Androxus hasn't been picked yet. Maybe they can try and fight back against that Fernando. Somebody to force out that Kinessa. Zen, true. Bomb King.
Used to be a common pickup on Frog Isle, usually wants a shield in front of him, and now will not have that. So this is going to be a Bomb King that has to push into an Atlas on danger side, plus whatever other flanker or DPS they end up getting. Koga will be the pickup there. And actually, this was the only thing I had heard from this. I tuned into the semifinals while they were being played, and someone in chat was complaining, yeah, man, Ilex team beat me with Koga Corvus. And I guess it makes sense if this is going to be something that they lean on, right? If they have this Koga Corvus, they can have him on the side. He can duel into that Bomb King, and is also not a bad Torvald counter. If he goes Wrecker, you get more energy for Adrenaline Junkie from that. So it's actually not the worst pickup on this map. Normally not the best map for Koga, but this isn't a bad draft to play him into.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be so much of the case either. I mean, you have the Fernando, you've got Corvus, Kinessa. I mean, we've seen how great the Fernando ultimate can be in a lot of these team fights. And Nara's obviously going to try and force something. You've got the King Bomb to force stuff out too. But how does that play exactly into a Fernando Squid Squad's draft? They've got a hill to climb. Let's head right into game on Frog Isle and see how everything will work out for Deadliest Sins, or if it won't work out for Deadliest Sins.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you're not wrong.
I mean, it really only comes down to how these guys end up playing their characters if they play them optimally. But I don't know, man. I really just give it a lot of credit to giving up the Kinessa Corvus. You know, they conceded. Okay, cool.
It's a confident pick.
I mean, it is, and they locked it in without any sort of consideration for anything else. They didn't lock in the Inara. They didn't lock in anybody else that could have been more prevalent for them. I mean, even Terminus was open. They didn't even feel like locking that one in. They knew what they wanted. They locked it in instantly, but see how it works out for them so far. Shots are being found, at least from the Kinessa, but nothing that really decides anything at this point in time. They can't really peek because of the fact that Kinessa is there. Victor is shooting, trying to find damage where he can. And that's actually going to end up with it being the first blood so far. They're actually positioning this very well on the side of Squid Squad.
Pixel's not rotating, though. Your Kinessa is only taking one angle. You need to punish them for sitting in the one spot you can't see. Pixel still, again, watching the same angle. Needs to maybe go main, take a shot that way to look danger instead if there's not any help. But he is just locking down this window and not really doing much else with it. So Squid Squad, because of that, they're going to keep taking this main area. The setback might give them their first pick of this, with thing getting very low, and it does.
Over time, once again, is now a factor, but you only got 6% to your name on the side of the Deadliest Sins. But I don't know if that's going to really matter much longer. Overtime sure is a factor. Apache gives up the control over the objective so far. Wizdu manages to get the silence on Koga, but only for a brief amount of time. Barrage is there. They are finding the damage into him. Koga is being brought low. They aren't going to be able to really find the kill here, as you have the Atlas available to them as well, trying to find really the best that they can find at this point in time. 99% to 81, from 6% to 90% already. Man, that's a great look for how the tides have turned. If anything, the Deadliest Sins are still in control, though, as they're trying to force things off the back of this King Bomb, and he just rewinds himself, and they end up getting the kill on Bomb King.
He just went for the wrong person there. He had to go to the point, I think, to go for that Nando to help them win that fight, especially since Apache is locked completely in this corner because of this Kinessa, who still has not rotated, sitting up there. But it didn't matter with that fight. That was won entirely on the other side. Again, I said, if you're going to be letting them have Kinessa, you can't be banning ROM. You can't just ban ROM, give them Kinessa and a healer, and then not get a really aggressive composition. Torvald BK, it's not it, Fawn. It is just truly not it. They can't make it in at all when they're being slowed down by this Atlas Koga.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I 100% agree with you because I'm seeing that happen right now. They haven't found a way in consistently enough to see if they can force things towards their side. Squid Squad were able to get the percentage they were able to get because of the fact that no one on the side of Deadly Sins had really tried to contest them on the objective yet because they were eating some considerable damage. They lost their Koga pretty early, so they had to play a little bit more conservative. But now you see how it's going well for them. Sure, they may have just lost their Fernando, but even still, they're finding better opportunities to maximize on their positioning, on their draft, in their composition as a whole, and it's just benefiting them in the long run. They really have been in control here, and Squid Squad are just now able to sort of get back to the point that they were in the very beginning of this set.
Yeah, Squid definitely back where they are at the beginning because they're back at their spawn. Is the
right,
problem for them right now is they want to get in, but Atlas, look at that setback. It catches thing, puts them right in front of the Koga, and they just can't really survive most of this damage. Wiz completely caught in, and Apache, though, at the very least for his team, he's traded out two more kills.
Right, this gets the double kill, but now you have the Kinessa being there as well. Let's see if they can find the kill onto the Victor. Not too sure if that's going to end up working out for them in the long run. Almost finds the shot on the Bomb King. Not going to be able to find that one, but Thing is holding on as best as he can in this scenario. He's trying to at least put more and more pressure on him as time moves forward. The wall gets burnt down, but Earthen Guard is there. Apache is still holding on, and it feels like this cart has been stuck in the long run. Thing goes down once again as Anara is really trying to hold on to the cart. Apache finally ends up going down in this engagement. As you've got 25 seconds still remaining for them on the clock, finding the damage that you can into Koga. But even still, they're holding on pretty consistently. You have Koga available to him as well. Wizdude is going to go down towards the tail end of this fight as they manage to take care of Thing. Apache has to hold on as best he can, but they're in the back line, wreaking havoc, electrifying the competition. 4 seconds still remaining to him as Apache goes down soon after that. A triple kill. My goodness, that's ridiculous. Deadliest Sin already with the 2-0.
Just running them over, basically.
Yeah.
Here, and now that I actually look at this full name, I think I think Deadliest Sins might be full controller and Squid Squad are full keyboard and mouse. I don't know, just seeing this, it's a very hard draft for Squid Squad. I literally can't say it any other way because I think they lost in draft from the first pick. What they gave up to them, it's just so hard for them to get into this Kinessa. It's definitely doable if they get some good ultimates there, but even that priority targeting was not really there. Thing 2 going for the Atlas, who had the cooldown to survive it, instead of going for the Fernando, who didn't have his ultimate charged yet. They just need to have that synced up a little bit better. And I think the chance here for Squid Squad is going to be heavily reliant on maybe what they get with this Hyper Beam, if they can knock someone off. But hey, why are they even going to push to get in that position? They have a Kinessa who, I guess, doesn't really rotate that much, but is still keeping that center of the map completely locked down.
Find the damage into Atlas as best as they can. 27% available to them as the Deadliest Sins are doing what they can to keep control over this objective. Seismic Crash goes out. Bomb King ends up popping the ultimate a little bit too early, but that's because of the Koga ult to try and see if he can get out of that situation. Just going to end up getting caught out towards the tail end of that. He has the hyperdrive available to him. They're not going to push up on danger. They just want to maintain control over the objective. Apache, that Earthen Guard is now gone. Gord gets tossed out. Torvald bubbles, but how much longer will he be able to live for? They managed to find one in the form of Maldon, but they find another in the form of Anara, and the rest of them are forced back. 81% for the Deadliest Sins.
Yeah, completely locked out again. No way for Squid Squad to really break through here. Now it's Sad Boy with that CC on this Atlas. Look at this pressure from both sides. They just managed to walk in and, again, no way to answer. And the Hyper Beam gets baited and wait, but then Elec walks back into it. Okay, well, pity kill for Wizdude. Elec walking right back into that Hyper Beam that he had managed to avoid before. And now that will force Deadliest Sins to retreat, at least for a little bit, but more kills it looks like coming out for now.
Alright, it seems like Victor's still holding on pretty well for the most part. 2 minutes available to him. I mean, they were just able to capture the point. Deadliest Sins were able to roll it forward a little bit, but they overall aren't able to find the opportunity that they may be looking for as they're trying their best to hold on to the objective here. But dropping the barrage down almost instantly as you still have plenty of time to be able to catch up to this one. They do use the rewind on the Atlas. They force that out from him. Koga is still there with the electric.
That's just still in the window. They're pushing the second point. At least go on the stage or something.
No, he's got it.
Window fun.
No, he's got it. He's got it. Hey, look, he got the Jode off. Okay, well, he ends up making it back on. Thanks for the shadow step.
Lack of back in the window is the Canessa, looking for someone to peek window, but there's really no reason for Victor to show himself here. So this Bomb King and the Torvald will be able to keep this locked down with only one person really there to help. No real reason for them to push out that far at this point. So Pixel will not have that much of a sightline to take, but Koga actually winning this duel a little bit better with that fight onto that Bomb King. Koga, though, does not win that. Again, they need a little bit more support. The sniper now, Pixel is moving up just in time for them to have lost one, but Dink over peaks.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, then if that's the case, then they're able to at least get a one-for-one trade. That's a better look than we could have anticipated beforehand. 40 seconds available to them. Still left on the clock here. Thing trying to hold on as best he can. He has the King Bomb, so he is going to at least have a little bit more control over the scenario. Tries to jolt him off the map, or I should say Poppy Bomb him off the map, but Electrify is just going to shadow step right back onto the objective, or at least back into danger to maintain control over that side flank with his teammate here with the Atlas. Thing is pushing up, being a little bit more aggressive, but so is Electrified. The silence goes out, not going to be enough, finds a double kill, and now Koga wants to run all the way into the back line. He wants to try and wreak havoc. Apache is there. They find a third kill already available to him. 4 seconds still remaining on the clock. So of course you have that overtime available to him. You have plenty of opportunity to be able to find your retake potentially, since overtime is a factor, but even in the long run, Deadliest Sins still have only more than halfway pushed the cart, but it's getting there. It's not there quite yet.
They have to make a little bit of ground in here, and this Koga actually could engage on this Bomb King if he ults. Oh, I guess Torvald Bubble didn't even come in. They're just rolling this card forward. Is anyone even close to it? They finally got someone to contest it, but Deadliest Sins actually lose their Canessa. Victor gets healed up back too, so this fight not looking that great at the start for Deadliest Sins.
Well, at least Dink is able to find 2 kills. It's a nice double for him. Divider goes out, and they're still trying to hold on best they can. Fernando's shield goes up and then gets dropped down almost instantly. They do manage to find a pick, and Squid Squad are going to find their first point to defend here on Frog Isle.
Yeah, they managed to hold things off with a good, I think, hero play from Dink, honestly. They just managed to kill that Canessa, and guess what? The game becomes a million times easier without worrying about the Canessa sightline. Luckily for them, no way for Window to see all the way back to the capture point. Squid, though, on this mid, they need to find some early picks. It has to be something with the CC, but if there's enough resilience on the side of Deadliest Sins, it's not going to be even doable. The Hyper Beam can't find a kill, the Fear and the Seismic Crash. It's the only ultimates they have, and there is plenty of resilience on the members of Deadliest Sins. Those tanks least likely to get taken down. I think Squid can't even really get aggressive, right? Because if they poppy in or something, if Thing manages to take ground and doesn't have mobility, that Kogel, that Cyclone Strike, it just kills him because it pierces Torvald's shield. It's something that a lot of people don't think about, but personal shields get completely pierced by the Koga ultimate. So Torvald can't even save you if it comes in that time. But look at this ground already being taken by them. Hyper Beam attempting to come in here, but you can't just hit a Koga. He lives. And they took a lot of damage just to make that happen.
It's not enough to find the proper opportunity, as Bomb King is available to them to find the damage, but not able to hold the angle they might be looking for. Seismic Crash goes out, but did he just throw it into the divider? I never heard it quite hit the ground like that. If anything, Thing manages to find the stun thanks to the Grumpy Bomb, but the King Bomb rolls through and doesn't find the mark they may have been looking for. They use the Accursed Arm almost instantly. He has to Poppy Bomb his way in onto the objective. 87% available for the Deadliest Sins. This Thing is trying to fight his best way that he can. He goes down. Electrified is still trying to move in the back line here. Torvald is there. Corvus drops the Entropic Breach directly on the point. Anara is trying to fight back as best as she possibly can, but overtime still a factor here. They're trying to hold on. Torvald Bubble, they're pocketing the Anara as best as they can. Steps right back onto it. Just playing ring around the rosy, if anything. They find the damage, they find the kill, they find more and more dubs, and they'll find their first win in this set. The Deadliest Sins take 1-0 over Squid Squad.
And just a very smart draft here on Frog Isle, knowing that prioritizing what is good. First pick Torvald potentially can work. Not on Frog Isle with a sniper and a pocket open, especially once you've banned ROM. Squid Squad, they literally, those first 4 bans just screwed them for the right. There's no other way to say it. It screwed them for the rest of the draft. They had no way to engage whatsoever. They didn't get that Ash, that Ruckus, anything that could have been aggressive. And anytime they tried to push, they walked right into Elec on this Koga sitting there on that lower side to slow them down. I think Dink survived way more than I was expecting him to. With the corners he was kind of able to hug and poke from, but Thing going 3 and 10 says everything you need to know. He could not take any space on that flank side, and he wasn't even playing a build that maybe might have been a little bit better for this map. People in chat were mentioning it, but no Jolt coming out from Thing either. Normally you see some Jolt 5 CC builds, maybe that could have helped take down the Atlas, take down the Nando, but playing just a standard build with no way to actually bust through that Koga and that Atlas.
Yeah, not the best slash lines on the side of Squad so far. But even in the long run of things, I think the damage numbers will tell more here. 80,000 damage still on the Canessa. Granted, not as much as the Victor
Torvald.
and not as much as the Bomb King as well. 23,000 damage for the Torvald, 33,000 damage taking. The shooting is 88k though on the side of him. And that's great. I mean, that's about as good as you would want, or maybe even a little bit better than what you would expect somebody on the losing team to be able to provide for his own team. But even still, they aren't quite able to catch that one. Frog Isle, man. I mean, it's a map that we haven't seen in a while, but clearly they knew how to play it. They were holding danger so effectively. You had Koga, you had Atlas on the side, just playing by danger. Divider goes out, Koga sits there, they try and fight. Bomb King has to try and fight, and that not quite the best look. We're going to move right into the picks and bans for the next game after this one on Frog Isle. Seems to be that the map is going to be Stone Keep this time around, so they're at least able to adjust a few things for their team based off of the comp and based off of the map.
Yeah, it should be a different look, at least in the ban phase here for both of these teams. Deadliest Sins, though, this actually is their pick, I'm assuming, considering that they're first and they banned the ROM. So they said, hey, listen, I know you guys did it last time. We'll get rid of it ourselves here. We don't want to have to play with it or against it. Squid Squad. Now, I'm assuming pockets are probably going to be the direction they take. I believe they banned Genos ROM last time, so a pocket ban would make a significant bit of sense. Maybe get rid of that Genos, not have to deal with that lift, that cross-map ultimate. Maybe even Torvald. Maybe they just really, I mean, they first picked it last map and gave things away, so clearly they think it is that powerful, and they seem to be in that train of thinking. Torvald is the first one to be removed. Don't want to give that up to the first pick, and a lot of good picks still available for Deadliest Sins.
So they've got bans in the ban column on the side of Squid Squad and the Deadliest Sins. They're going to get rid of Genos, and now Squid Squad, they have to get rid of the Corvus. Or I believe it was a little bit of a miscommunication there. It's not actually Genos in the ban column, but we'll see exactly what that ban is. It's actually going to be Corvus, which, I mean, it's still one of the two pockets, so my statement still stands. They have to get rid of the Genos here, because they don't want Deadliest Sins to just have one of the two pockets. They're actually going to get rid of the Vivian. They feel like that's more prominent here. Deadliest Sins, they have the Genos afford it to them if they want to lock it in first.
And I don't even know if a first pick Genos is necessarily a one draft. I think you can outplay it. I mean, we saw it happen earlier with Rosvet, right? We saw them kind of getting the Genos, but still not having it convert to a win. If Squid Squad get a smart enough draft in response, I think a Grover pickup here would be solid if they want to eliminate that pickup right of them. They do take the Inara, which not a lot of teams pair with the Genos, so maybe it's going a little bit early, but they do get that Grover. They want to get rid of that Genos Grover combination that Pickled Pepper have popularized as much as they have, and of course they want to get a comfort pick for Apache here on this main tank.
Alrighty, it seems to be a good look for them. I love the Grover Inara. It's always a very prominent combo, and one that has definitely won games by itself just off of those two alone. So glad to see it returned here in Stone Keep. It's Deadliest Sins. They want the Genos. They want the Strix in their back pocket here, as they are now going to block in their third character on their side. It's going to be the Atlas, so they have control where they need to on the side of the Deadliest Sins. So I mean, that's a good look so far. I mean, they have that sort of defensive draft. They have a backliner. They have the Genos pocket as well. And they have the Atlas. I mean, the setback's going to play a pretty big role, but even still, I'm a little bit concerned with the Grover being there as a factor, because that cripple's going to stop him from using that rewind on himself. He may not have that durability that they might be looking for.
And interesting of them going the con. I think that's just for the execute. Maybe one way for them to just pull the Strix from the back line, but it is a bit of pressure on him and a Victor to follow it up. Also, Victor, when ultimate is up, is a decent counter to Strix, but he still struggles, of course, until the ultimates are available to actually get those kills. But being able to use the barrage onto the Strix through stealth is something that he really can't escape that effectively. But Deadliest Sins, they don't have a solid, I think, central point tank quite yet. Maybe a Terminus, maybe a Barrack, maybe a Nando. All of them can be viable pickups, but they do get the Koga again, high win rate in Europe, of course, and seems to maybe be a solid win rate here in North America. And they get the Nando, so a very, similar draft here for Deadliest Sins, it looks like. The Strix being the only different, almost identical, but it's a very different map, and Squid Squad have a very different draft here, at least in a few of these picks. Last pick will determine a lot of this, but I'm a little bit more confident about the Squid Squad draft on this map as opposed to Frog. There's cover here. They could actually take cover, surprise, surprise, on the way to get into this sniper.
So it's Geno, Strix, Atlas, Koga, Fernando, Anar, Grover, Khan, Victor, and of course they have another DPS to lock in for themselves. If this is what they want to go for here, and it's going to be the Eevee to dive into that back line. That verticality is going to play a pretty good role into the Fernando. I mean, that's something he has to keep in mind here. And even still, it's going to make it as uncomfortable as possible for the Strix, which I think is the real story here. That's what that Eevee is for. Trying to make that Strix not able to just sit back in free fire by pretty much what I would assume to be fireplace, only moving up when his team provides him the space to actually move and go where they need to. In the long run here, though, who do you think has sort of the long con here? If this game goes longer, not typically a question I ask, but if the game goes longer than normal, if it goes to 3-3, do either of these teams outscale one another? Like, do you see one being better than the other in terms of overall drafting?
I think Squid's draft falls off a little bit more once Resilience is online, purely because of the Inara Grover. So I think they want to win fast to play off of their them, you needing Cauterize against them, you needing Wrecker against them, and them just having raw damage. At least should play a little bit better in the late game. But if they make a tiny misstep, I mean, they're just going to get rooted and died. Elec basically has to play perfect.
Well, let's see how both of these drafts will end up playing out here as we head right into game on Stone Keep. If Deadliest Sins, if they're able to harness what they used last time on Frog Isle, they might be able to sweep this one out from under the feet of Squid Squad, or Squid Squad be able to sort of fight back and make this a tie at 1-1. Who knows? We can only tell by actually watching the game in its own right. And it seems like everyone had pretty standard keystones, or not keystones, excuse me, drafts. You can tell what game I've been playing.
You traveled back in time.
I traveled way back in time for a second. I called them keystones for a second, but that's neither here nor there. Squid Squad already moving in. Seems that they want to take care of Keep. If anything, Electrified is there. And it seems like already Atlas is trying to hold as best as he can in the church. 33% available on the Deadliest Sin side, as Eevee is pretty much free firing into them, but they're not really concerned with her. It seems like they're just trying to rotate around and regroup with their team. They weren't quite able to find the kills that they may have been looking for. 36% to 33, if anything.
But Squid Squad have control of the objective with no real way for them to get damage in. Look where Pixel has to rotate to. He's going this long way around, all the way to fire. Now finally able to take that angle, but they still can't dislodge Apache from this point. When they try to do this surround that their comp wants to do, they're just getting poked from behind by Thing. But Thing did finally regroup with them. Deadliest Sins Wizdude, though, he will kill the Nando trying to contest the point. Even if they trade Thing for it, they got the objective, and they can wait and reheal as long as they need to.
That is for sure. Especially since they're able to pretty much chill and keep, which is what we're seeing them do right now. They don't want to they don't really want to push too far forward, if anything. They don't really want to give up their positioning at the same time, so they're just holding on as best as they can. No ultimates up yet on either side. Ice Storm seems to be the first one that's going to be brought up here in the game, because now everyone's ultimates are slowly slowly building up in percentage here. Electrified locked in a battle one-on-one in church with the Eevee. One shot is going to be enough to make him reconsider trying to fight against Thing on the Eevee. He's going to get taken out. Now Eevee has even more control over the high ground here. She's going to position herself in a way that makes it mad easy for her to take control and just hold it, just lock it down, keep it on lock, prevent them from pushing in on high ground.
Yeah, they can't really take a lot of ground in there. Atlas isn't the best pushing tank. He's the best for kind of holding his ground. So if they need to take ground, that's not what Atlas will really thrive at doing. And Thing is just bullying Electrified down here. No little bit of extra burst healing as he gets very low, but Thing can't finish him off because of all that healing he's able to get on his own end from the Genos. The cart does finally slow down, and I think this is a smart way to take this. They have a tank in each lane, and actually they just go for the overpower right away, and they get it. They pull someone right off the objective.
They actually yeet him right off side of the map, too. That's a one-for-one trade. Grenade gets tossed out. They take care of the Genos as you have a minute still remaining to him. Grover is there. Cripple Axe manages to bounce between the two of them, lock them down. They're the ones that are end up going to get kind of wrecked here, almost. I mean, they haven't really stopped rolling the card on the side of Squid Squad, and you have so many low health pools on the side of the Deadliest Sins. They take care of one. They might even be able to take care of the next one. They actually force out the Fernando ultimate to keep everybody alive, but as soon as that goes down, they just end up dying once again. Tries to escape, but Electrified not going to quite gain the distance that he would have hoped to with the Dragon stance. And he's still going to go down 2-0 already for Squid Squad. 2 ultimates up on both sides. But even still, I think the ultimates on the side of Squid Squad.
They spent some really important ones here, though. The Overpower and the Whirlwind are ones that I think are key that aren't going to be available. But they also forced out the Immortal. Not a lot of really impactful ones up on the side of Deadliest Sins. Atlas and Flash Atlas and the Strix ultimate, so Flashbang and Exile not anywhere near, I think, the value of some of the others that they could have. So harder game for them, I think. If that Seismic Crash comes in on someone who doesn't have resilience, just catch an Atlas with it, catch the Strix with it, even the Genos if he's a little bit forward. Free kill. Eevee will for sure be able to go in and cross that gap. And look at this, just the credit differential between the two teams. So many more items on Squid. They're definitely starting to run away with it. And I said earlier, their comp needed to win early. So they're probably feeling pretty confident about how this has started out.
2-0 available to them already. As you now have a situation where they have to sort of find their way out of keep, try and regain control here. Their health pools are so low, and I think these axes are playing a huge role into it. Same thing could be said for the Eevee. Thing moves in, drops the Ice Storm and manages to get the kill onto the Atlas almost instantly. They're still in control of Church here, but can't say the same of them being as in control over the objective. Squid Squad, they're the ones that are at 66% currently. The Deadliest Sins are still trying to find their way in. They're finding the damage, but they're not finding the kills. They're not cementing themselves as a team right now because of the fact that they're just being zoned out the whole time.
Yeah, no way for them to really make it back through. Look at that, though. Seismic Crash on the objective. It stuns the Nando, but did they have the follow-up maybe now with Dink with this barrage? But he can't find anyone to spend it on. This Deadliest Sins, they're around the point, but they can't really make it to it.
Electrified having a bit of a tough time getting anything going on this Koga. He's moving in, finding the damage, but every time he finds the damage, it's almost like the person that he's fighting outtrays him through time and space. Is not going to quite find the mark here, but it was able to push him back. Deadliest Sins have now gained control over the objective. Eevee is there. Thing is trying to put on the pressure. Manages to use the Shadow Step once, not twice, but soon as Thing manages to find the shot, he's going to be able to submit that one. They've lost 2. They've lost 3. How many more will they lose? They lose the 4th one, the 5th one up above. Pixel Square is there, but as soon as he gets wiped out, and Squid Squad are going to maintain control over this one. 3-0 already on Stone Peak.
He just ran, the Grover runs you down. You know that the fight is lost at that point. And look at the way that they're trying to take this ground right now. They have both tanks in the same lane, so absolutely no one bottom right. And Dinka kind of abused that. He could walk in, but the Strix is back, and they might be getting it right now with the barrage. They force the Cyclone Strike just to stay alive through the Ice Storm, so that's an ultimate they won't be able to use. This Thing just keeps putting on the pressure.
It seems like there's 2 minutes remaining to them, but the cart's more than halfway already. They're already back in the driver's seat here. Squid Squad in control. They're now able to keep hold of a lot of these different angles here. Fireplace is where Dink is. He wants to try and find damage into their back line. Gets hit by the Strix, but not too caring, if anything, as he's still going to peek some of these angles, still contest them. Plug the damage into the Atlas, get plenty of damage into the Koga. Thing keeping on top of him, manages to find it, but as soon as he shadow steps, Apache is waiting below with open arms, drops down, gets the kill. Square manages to find one, so at least that's a 2-for-1. Deadliest Sins are still in control here as they're pushing in the cart, but once again, open arms, Apache down below manages to find another kill. Everyone keeps dropping down right into the Inara, and they're managing to actually keep it even based off of that.
What an interesting angle for an Inara to play, too. Bottom left, just holding her, but it's a safe spot to be against the sniper. It'll force him in if he wants to actually get some traded kills. And look, he's not paying any attention. He distracted the Nando, who was shielding Inara chip damage, and it lets Pixel go down, and he gets the Koga as well.
Dink already finds himself a nice double kill, and now Fernando has to hold on to the cart with limited teammates and limited help on the side of them, but that's not going to be much help. Overpowered there, the force is used. He's going to throw him right off the side of the map. Same thing can be said for the Atlas through time and space. A Hail Mary to find something. Strix finds one hit. That's going to be the Whirlwind. They want to roll this cart one right on in as Pixel Square finds one on the Dink. That's another one down. Squid Squad 4-0 already on Stone Keep, and even this one up against the Deadliest Sins.
I can't even imagine the comms on Deadliest Sins in that moment. Guys,
Right.
Guys, I'm getting chipped for 300. Please kill the Inara. Guys, in 15 seconds, I might be in danger. Please kill the Inara. Meanwhile, Dink just walking in behind him, killing both of his DPS. Sad moment for that team there. Maybe if he had tried to be more aggressive, it could have helped, but of course can't let themselves get back. Hap, Squid Squad adapt their draft. Deadliest Sins don't, and you can tell what the difference maker was there. I think the con overpower made a huge difference for that team. I think just them having the Victor in a better map where he could play cover a little better also helped that matchup significantly.
Yeah, and it seems like for the most part that, oh my goodness, 0-7 for the Fernando, 2-5, 1-6, 0-2. That is not what you like to see. Pixel Square is at least able to have 5-4, but he is the only one positive on his team in this situation. It's going to be unlucky for them. The Deadliest Sins not quite able to have a very convincing win like they did in the first map. But Squid Squad are going to sweep this one right from out under the rug. Two of them on their team even went undying. Wizdude 5-0-9. You have Grover 1-0-18. They're able to provide a lot of this healing, and I think that comes down to the Grover. The cripple axis plays such a huge role into how a lot of those fights win. It meant that Electrified and Sad Boy couldn't play those open angles. The minute the divider went down, they had to retreat. They couldn't hold on to what they wanted to. As soon as Electrified went to the back line, he tried to put pressure on the Strix. It just didn't. Not put pressure on the Strix, excuse me. Put pressure on the Victor. It didn't work out for him. Every time he tried to move to the back to stop the Grover, it didn't work out. The healing was just too much. You had the damage that he had to answer as well. And if he committed too hard, then he was going to get cripple axe. Same thing could be said for the Atlas. So, I don't know. I feel like the draft played sort of a role as to how this match actually went. 66k for the Victor. I mean, he's at the top of the damage charts, but that's not anything too surprising.
Yeah, Victor definitely just almost always finds himself there no matter what, but definitely harder game, of course, for Deadliest Sins, just being unable to really bust through the line and not being able to rely as well on their sniper, right? Last game, they could just do nothing because their sniper would win the game for them merely by having that angle, because if they push, they back up, suddenly now they're going to have to walk into them to retake that space a lot harder. So now maybe I'd expect to see a wide map again so they can play that kind of style, maybe not a map with as many close corners that they can play around. It will be Splitstone, so it's a map that they can utilize that on. We'll see if anything changes in the picks and bans for Deadliest Sins, or if they kind of try to keep their MO of Koga and a Pocket and an Atlas.
Well, let's head right back into the picks and bans here and see how everything is going to play out this go around. At the very last game of this set, Deadliest Sins versus Squid Squad tied at a 1-for-1. Is there anything you would like to see here on Splitstone Korea? I mean, we've seen the sniper bans before. We've seen Strix got rid of. We've seen the Knesset being taken out of the fray here. But do you see the potential for a Willow? Do you think that Inara might be a little bit too strong? That Grover might be a little bit too much? Do we feel like the Willow, especially on this map, could be a potential counter if they want to draft that one again?
They might be able to pull out the Willow. We'll see if that is the direction they want to go. Rom will be the ban, though, so things are looking pretty much the same. I'm not sure if that will be the angle they take. And Torvald again prioritized by them, so I still don't know if I love that, honestly, from them. We'll see if that hurts them in the long run by sacrificing that ban. But this is a better map for him, I think. I mean, the way that they played the Torvald last time, the priority wasn't was the problem, not necessarily the pick itself. So clearly Torvald's still strong, still willing to be removed. But Corvus as the second one for them, so no extra bit of healing there, and Deadliest Sins might find themselves with Genos yet again.
Yeah, it already seems pretty prominent in terms of how everything has been going, that this is the consistent bans that we've been seeing the whole time. Vivian, once again, they're not too concerned about the Genos here. They just want to make sure that they get rid of what might actually be a thorn on their side. Torvald, Vivian, Rom, Corvus, all out of the fray. Let's see how Deadliest Sins want to respond to this one. Will they lock in the Genos, or do they feel that they can give up him for a more consistent pick? Maybe even get the Inara first. Maybe even get the Androxus first. But it's going to be the Genos here. That's sort of the stronger first pick that you love to see.
The Genos makes sense. I mean, you can make a draft work with it, especially on this map where you can actually play the triple DPS, right? You can play that kind of surrounding angle, whereas triple DPS, they didn't play it last map, but it does struggle a lot more on Stone Keep. Now maybe you can play a draft that feels a little bit better on a map that plays more towards it. Squid Squad, though, is it going to be the same exact start? It could just be another Grover again. And it is. The maps are similar-ish, but Deadliest Sins, I lean a little bit more towards the Genos on a map like Split.
Yeah, it already seems that This is a great look for them once again. I mean, I can't really complain, man. I mean, it worked out. I've mentioned before that Anara and Grover is such a prominent combo overall, and seeing this on Splitstone means that they have that capability in their back pocket once again to have that sustain to live through a lot of these fights. Genos, Strix, Atlas
Eh,
on the. Is this Jithas? Did you pull up the right game? Or are
This,
we watching
is this the
one
same?
from
Is
last
this just
time?
an identical draft?
Is this the exact? Is this the this? This is
Listen, Fawn. Both teams hit rematch. Neither team hit select.
okay.
select
All right.
winner.
Okay. There's the difference. There's the difference there. Okay, it's the Cassie. We're not living in some sort of fever dream. We're not seeing the exact same draft or anything like that. So Anara, Grover, Khan, Cassie, Genos, Strix, Atlas on the side of the Deadliest Sins. Man, oh man, Adroxus is going to be the second to last pick here, as they now have their final pick to end up being grabbed here, if anything, and it's going to be the Fernando.
Why swap off the Vic though? Your Vic did really well last game. Why are you just randomly pivoting to the Cassie? I mean, it's fine. It'll be fine here. And Arakan Grover is still a fine pick, and any backline is fine. Just very strange, I think, seeing that random pivot when your Victor did so well in the previous game. And Squid Squad flanker will probably be priority here. We could totally see some Eevee maybe, as we saw last game. So the only change for them is going to be that Eevee. The only change for Deadliest Sins is going to be that Andro instead of the Koga. So a little bit more of a flexible flank, and I guess a little bit more of a flexible backline. We might even see some big game, honestly, to take down this Atlas and this Nando.
Already great drafts on both sides, but there's only going to be one victor at the end of this one. Let's head right into the game and Splitstone Quarry. They don't want to draft another sniper to try and counter out that Strix. They'd rather have the dive potential. They'd rather have that aggression on the side of the Eevee to be able to benefit them. And based on how Thing played last time, seems pretty good to me.
Yeah, I think I would agree. The Eevee did fine last time and won't make too much of a difference in terms of problem there. Zeref, I'm not sure if he's going to stick on that formidable. Maybe, okay, I was going to say, against Khan, I really don't think you want that formidable. You'll have your shield too little time and it gets knocked down so quickly. But it looks like a Quarry side mid from both teams here as the tanks meet each other, but neither backline is really there to help. Actually, no, it's the flanker that's not there for them. Eevee kind of left alone on an island, and the Strix hasn't taken a single shot yet. Finally, someone presents himself for him to do some damage to, but Squid Squad still maintain control of Quarry.
Percent already available to them, as you have 15% on the side of Squid Squad. They're controlling a lot so far in the long run of things. 24% to 30 as the percentage keeps steadily rising. The Deadliest Sins are available to keep on fighting here. Finding the damage plugged into them on the side of Squid Squad, but they're holding on still by fidget spinners. As Thing is finding the damage that he needs, but still no definitive kills. They're finding plenty of damage on both sides, but the percentage has still been going on to the side of the Deadliest Sins here. No one's really been able to sort of crack the shell of anybody's comp, and there it is. There's the first blood. As soon as I mentioned it, the scout, now they can full send if they want to. 42% for them as they just now made it to the objective. They found that kill. Now they'll find themselves some more percentage.
Yeah, look at this. Actually, the big game walking into the back line here, burning down that Atlas, but second chance goes in. He just disengages, but he should. Squid Squad still maintain control at this point. Zeref maybe can't make it in, actually, but the dire need speed might let him get it, but he doesn't. He doesn't get over the wall. He can't get in because of that slow as well, and Squid Squad take it away from right in front of the Fernando with this ground that they have. Fernando contesting the cart, but he can't do it for too long, I think, but no one on Squid Squad's pushing out to really punish him for sitting here.
Already 2 minutes and 10 seconds available to him as Squid Squad are going to still be able to hold on pretty well to things as a whole in terms of how this zone has been going, or at least I should say how they've been getting zoned for a little bit. They're now able to fight back pretty effectively. The divider goes up. You have 2 minutes available to them already. You find the damage in it, Fernando. You blink in, you blink back out, and you make something work for your team. You use the whirlwind to keep everybody alive underground, and now you have the Eevee still trying to apply pressure. That Ice Storm is there, not going to be able to find the kill, but thankfully the Grover is there to find that last hit. Now they have more and more control as time goes on. Squid Squad still leading very effectively And at first I thought they had already pushed the car all the way up, but I just realized that was just a zone that was happening. They were just fighting
Yeah.
so far up for such a long time, and now the cart is rolling forward.
Yeah, they do have some good ground here with Squid Squad, and I find it's going to be hard for Deadliest Sins to actually break out here. They have decent poke, but not a lot of crazy aggression. It's going to have to kind of be on the back of Elect to make some ground, but Shield used a little bit early. Zara finally moves in, and this first pick onto Thing will help them significantly.
Already seems like there's a minute still remaining to them on Squid Squad. Electrified is there. Still trying to find the damage. I mean, they're it's going back and forth. It's like, okay, they're finding the damage, not finding the kills, and then there's a time where they're not
able to get much more of it, but Deadliest Sins do manage to retake this high ground here, poking down, and the axe is not connecting in a way that will actually finish off any of these kills. So Deadliest Sins managed to retake, arguably, one of the best defensive chokes in this map, and they'll have to pull back for now, but I think Squid have ways to get in. I mean, they could just have Thing go over the side wall to get into the back line. They could have maybe someone use an ultimate if they want to, but they should be focused on charging theirs for this next mid, because Deadliest Sins have a pretty big advantage in that department.
10 seconds still remaining to them. We've got plenty of time to be able to make it back to how the objective is so far. And they are able to do that, but at the same time, no one's really been able to gain any ground. They're able to cause the overtime, but even still, now they have to sit on card. They managed to find the last hit to get rid of the Grover. Now they don't have a healer available to them on the side of Squid Squad, trying to find more and more shots as things are going on. Dink finds one, now they find another. That's a 1-for-1 trade already as Anara puts up the wall. Apache trying to hold on as best he can. Battle shout, Khan to the back line, yelling out to everybody, just trying to heal himself, keep himself alive for a little bit longer. They are able to make it there, but they actually backed off of cart. They weren't expecting it to go down that far. They weren't expecting it to go down that fast, excuse me. I could tell because they walked around the corner. Apache wanted to make sure he could get healed back up a little bit, and then he jumped back on at the time the overtime had already expired. So that's unlucky for them, honestly. But for the long run, I think things are pretty okay for both of these teams. Is there anything that stood out to you that round, Chris, that you'd like to make note of?
Nothing really, other than maybe Thing trying to frontline at the very end for his team, leading into that Strix in the small choke point when maybe he should be taking a slightly side angle if the sniper is distracted enough. But nothing else really crazily stands out. I think Squid Squad did good to get that overtime to charge up their ultimates again, which is going to be, of course, important here, especially with WizDude getting close to that overpower. Overpower, of course, one of the best, if not the best ultimate, well, at least in the conversation for best ultimate in the game, immediately taking someone out of the game right away. But look at this, Squid Squad again in control of Quarry. This Exile could open things up with as early triple Exile.
See how things are going to work out for them. 24% to 6 already. Squid Squad still in control, or at least I should say, trying to regain control of the situation. They were able to find the picks. There we go. The overpower goes there through time and space as well. 2-for-2 trade. Now you have a situation where they have 3 members on both sides trying to fight back for control over the objective. They've lost 2 members on the respective teams. Seismic Crash goes out, finds one, keeps Electrified alive. He's not going to go down here. Now the Khan's trying to push in. Thing knows what he wants and he's going to get it. Now the Strix is gone and out of the fray here. 63% to 9. Squid Squad haven't been able to capture the objective in the way that they've been able to or have wanted to. But at the long run of things, they've been able to find the kills. They've gotten rid of the Fernando, and now they'll be able to net themselves some more percentage.
Yeah, his Thing tries to pressure up top, but can't really do it. But it doesn't need to go that far. Their team has control of the objective. Just hold that side and make sure that no one gets around for that easy, basically, retouch on the point. But Pixel actually took some ground from him and forced him out. So now this lava side completely open to Deadliest Sins once they go back in for that touch. They do manage to just run it in main, though. So, if anything, now it just comes down to the picks, right? What the backlines can find as Zeref's shield gets dangerously low on point.
Already 87% to 69. Everyone's still trying to hold on as best as they can. You have 96% afforded to the Deadliest Sins. They've been in control pretty much the entire time. Even with the picks they have been able to get, Squid Squad aren't able to turn this around like last time. But this might be what they've been looking for. They find a 1-for-1 trade. Genos in the back line is stuck busy dealing with Dink as he combat rolls his way out of the situation. But Electrified falls down, manages to peel for his teammate over time. Still being a factor. Pixel Square has to make his way out, moving back and forth. This movement, it might not be enough, and it will be. He manages to kill Grover at the last second. Genos is there to take care of his two last hits. They're going to be easy. That overtime meter is on the brink of breaking right now. Oh my goodness, that's going to be it. 2-1 for the deadliest sin. That overtime meter was freaking out. It was like, please, just someone step off.
God, I need to get out of here, please. And they managed to finally finish it off with Xerath winning that battle on point, backed up by the rest of his team. I like how Deadliest Sins are actually taking this, how they already have pressure in this under area, and they will get walled off by Apache, but not walled in, so they're not able to finish that off. They lose a Lek in the back. It can make things significantly harder because they're completely surrounded.
Seems like they aren't really able to find the effectiveness that they've been looking for on the side of the Deadliest Sin. Sure, they were able to roll the cart in at least halfway, but you already have 3 members that pretty much got dealt with on the side of the Deadliest Sins. The Squid Squad are still trying to make sure they aren't going to be able to get that much of a zone. They aren't pushing them into their spawn, but they are holding on to their positioning. Versal goes up on the side of Androxus, tosses it right back out, manages to hit the con, tries to go for the overpower, but that's going to go wide. That's going to be a huge damper in the defensive properties of Squid Squad's team. They aren't going to be able to find much more than that. They've got to wait for that con to build the ultimate back up, but even still, they're eating a lot of damage on the way in. Squid Squad still might be able to have the advantage on this control.
Yeah, and Squid will have to, I think, back up from this high ground just because of the positioning of the Lek, locking them back, not allowing them to stay on that high ground. But let's do it to charge on this pretty quickly. Already 67% back up. And I like that Squid is willing to go aggressive with this because he can get out so safely, but no kill finished, unfortunately, as this card actually keeps moving below. There's only Wiz and Thing above. Not a ton of damage, so Xerath can just keep moving this card. His team just needs to help him because now they're turning to collapse, but he's actually able to just kind of walk out and escape to high ground.
Yeah, Fernando has to find some sort of way out of this fight because you have about 35 seconds available to them, and nice through time and space to find the kill onto Wizdude. Deadliest Sins still holding on and still trying to roll this cart right on through. They not only found 1, but they found 2 for the price of none on the side of Squid Squad. They have 20 seconds remaining to them. The time is still ticking down time and time again, but they aren't going to give up yet. They have plenty of time to try and see if they can roll this one. If they get another pick, that might be all she wrote for Squid Squad. They might be up 3-1 if Deadliest Sins can roll this one through.
Definitely possible, but Squid Squad have a decent position right now with Con and Cassie both playing on the side, and actually they're putting a lot of pressure into Mines. Pixel has to run so far away, and Xerath has to just heal. He can't stay in. Everyone else took too much damage early, and the shield went down. They managed to hold on to a lot of their ultimates, but they did use that time and space to break through. Not as much in the tank as they would have last time. I think what they really need is someone holding close enough to the Con to maybe take him down as he goes in for that overpower, right? I'd love to see an Accursed Arm maybe coming out immediately to counter that, but if he uses it above the quarry side, he could just straight up die to the Cassie burst damage.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be really working out for either side because of the fact that they end up capturing the points, but then they end up just defending in the long run of things. Nobody's really been able to really commit to a full-on push here. They haven't been able to full send it as hard as they might be wanting to, but even still, like you said, that Cassie burst is playing a huge role into a lot of that. A lot of those 1v1s are being won because of the fact that Cassie is there, and that sometimes that's all you really need. Sometimes you just need the right person at the right time guarding the right place. But 9% to 12 so far. The fireball gets tossed out. You have a pretty good opportunity to keep on pushing forward. If you're Squid Squad, they're able to pretty much keep control over the objective as well. Wall goes up, and Apache still locking it down as Fernando is trying his best to do something, anything, to make it back on the card. But as soon as that happens, you deal with the disengaged, bolted, big game Fernando, and you don't have the opportunity to stand on point for as long as you might want.
He actually has quite a bit of time here spent. Look at that seismic crash, though. Kind of an interesting throw for it, but it actually gets the Andro on the far high ground, and the overpower will equalize another kill here. Squid Squad looking like they're in a great position with no one that can really get a solid overtime. It's all down to that Atlas, but they lose their Genos on the other side in the process.
72% available to Squid Squad is still steadily climbing. Got a situation where they won't really be able to make it back. They forced them all the way back to their spawn, and if they weren't forced back, they were just respawning. So this is a great look for Squid Squad on this currently in this round, breaking the tie from 2-2 to now 3-2 in favor of Squid, as Thing is waiting around the corner, trying to find the marks, trying to find the hits, anything. And he manages to plug good shots into Fernando, forces him out, blinks in, blinks right back out as well. But they lost Con in the process of that. So in the long run, they might have to forfeit a lot of the space that they have already, but it doesn't seem like they want to. They're finding plenty of damage still.
Yeah, the Exile setup there was fantastic by that team to get a kill. I like seeing that used just for one stun and then a kill, but maybe not worth it for an ultimate here. Because Square Bob actually gets 2 and a third, picked up by Alec after. It could have been his triple, but stolen there by his Strix teammate. And they should get as far forward as they can, honestly, but Pixel actually kind of on an island, no one else really willing to move on the rest of his team. So he has got to bail as soon as these dashes come up, and he might not even make it out.
Yeah, he does manage to make it out just barely by the skin of his teeth. You have a minute and 25 available to him. They've been stalling for quite some time on the side of the Deadliest Sin. Blinks right back up. Thing is there and blinks right back out. But you still have plenty of time available on the clock to make it pushed in. Axe gets tossed out, manages to find its way right into the Strix. He manages to submit that kill for him. Thing is all the way in the back line, though. That's going to be huge, especially as he's finding so much damage. That damage was found, but they can't really peek back up. In the long run of things, they actually end up losing on the tail end of that. The front line, thanks to Pixel Square Bob, he's able to find one Wiz dude who's taken out of the fray here. Apache has to pretty much bide his time. He can't really push up as much as he would like to.
I think it's because neither team really has an aggressive off tank, right? So no matter what Pixel does, no matter what Thing does, who follows up on it? They have to win the rest of the fight to make it work. These flanks are truly just playing alone, more or less. So Thing can go in, but it's not like Wiz dude's gonna jump over the wall and follow in with him.
Right.
A lot of the time. So nature of the draft, I think that things go that way, as we do have a little bit of a pause for teams to figure out whatever issue they have to deal with. In the meantime, I think having aggressive off tank helps quite a bit on this map, but the way that both teams are holding, because both teams have that defensive off tank, it makes it even harder for them to go in, right? If Khan is not going to walk past an Atlas in lower house to help his Eevee, it's just, he just can't. He'll take too much damage. He'll probably have to shout and get out. If Atlas does the same thing, he'll have to rewind and be too far from the fight anyway. So neither off tank can really pressure up. It's down to the front of the fight to turn the off tank and let them get that ground in. But small little bit of mistiming with Thing trying to go over and in. Got some great damage, but unfortunately no follow-up because, hey, they're pushed into a Strix and Nandra, both above them. That makes life very difficult for a Khan trying to overcome that.
Right, exactly. And I mean, of course, that goes to show the fact that the verticality can play a huge role in that. But even if you don't have that verticality, I mean, it's still strict. He's going to break that shield pretty effectively. You can't really complain about that. I mean, getting hit for 1,200 is already enough, but say goodbye to that shield if you're ever trying to push him into the back line with the rest of your teammates, right? I mean, that's just how it goes. Them be the breaks sometimes, honestly. 15 seconds still remaining on the clock as they're trying to make their way in. Still trade 1 for 1. Once again, we've seen this happen consistently throughout this set, and more specifically throughout this map on Splitstone here, as you've got 5 seconds and no time remaining. Overtime is still going to be something that they have to be concerned about. Apache cannot leave, because if that overtime bar starts freaking out, you know what's going to evaporate almost instantly. They go over the wall and manages to find the last hit. Thing moves in, but doesn't actually quite touch. No, not really any point in doing that. There's not really anyone that could stall after that. You just be giving them ult charge if you didn't already know they had all their ultimates already. So
yeah, this is a scary fight, though. I think both teams going in 5 strong. I gotta give the edge, at least slightly, to Squid Squad, with just merely for the fact that they have overpower. It's such a good ultimate. It's Splitstone Quarry. It's not like you need to burn them down. They can just get thrown right into Fidget and have no other really way to survive that. But the difference between this mid and last mid is Shawnee's time and space. The time and space can connect on the Khan. It's not like he can shout it when he's going for that pull. Just the slightest bit of poke ahead of time, and you can get that kill afterwards. Scary thing for Deadliest Sins, though. Almost no resilience. There is a seismic crash on the other side. That could just end the game right away if they don't play around it well.
All right, 3% tied at 3 to 6 currently. It was at 3 to 3, but it's not here nor there. Still a 3% differential. As the percentages are going back and forth. Overpower goes out but misses. Once again, Flashbang goes out too. Manages to blind Apache, but that's all he's going to be able to find. Eevee blinks in, blinks back out, and then you have Dink on the Cassie. Finds 1 kill. That Genos is gone, and that means they don't have that healer Thing. It's just going to eat pretty much a shot straight to the face, if anything. That's going to be unlucky for him. Pixel Square Bob moves in, but gets brought down to 92 HP, and then has to reconsider his options. He's going to come around the other side. Dink knows he's back there and deals with him respectively. The Deadliest Sins are still on the point, trying to maintain control effectively through time and space. Is going to find 2, and Dink gets brought down extremely low. What positioning from the Genos on the blue team. Deadliest Sins, they have 3 kills. They have a 4th one. The Seismic Crash goes out, and Apache's the only one remaining. That DR ain't gonna help you, baby. 72% for the boys in blue, and this might be it. The dismount is there. You have the Androxus in the back line. They've managed to find what they've needed to, and that's gonna be all she wrote. The Deadliest Sins win the set.
Off the back of a crazy, I mean, I said, hey, you know what the difference is, Shawnee's time and space. I didn't mean it like that. I thought it was going to be just like a counter play. I wasn't saying, yeah, he'll just wipe the whole team. No big deal. Easiest play of his life. But Squid Squad, they disengage all in the same lane. You can't do that against a team that's going to be acting like that against you. And I think the best reaction to that afterwards, as soon as Apache dies, what does Pixel do? He just runs to their spawn. Why not? They have 60%. Just dismount them. Don't even give them a inkling of a chance to make it in and get that touch. The Andro throws his life away, even if he doesn't die, just to deny that and play for the dub. And that's the kind of team play that you like to see. Deadliest Sins. This is, I think it's their, I don't know if this is their first week, but at the very least, it's the first week making it to a place where me and you can see them. Right. And they looked very successful here. Squid was a team that's not looked bad, but definitely looked outplayed at the end by Deadliest Sins.
Yeah, and so far as we head right into the post-game stats here, the slash lines, and of course the damage charts. Once we get to that and the entire stats page, will tell more of the story here. 9 and 7 for Dink, and a few other slash lines here or there. But in the long run, 116,000 damage for Dink. We talked about him before. You mentioned the burst that Cassie sort of has every single time Fernando made it to the point. He would get big game. What did that do? Immediately forced out the shield, forced out the dash, or at least had to make sure that he was in a good enough spot to where he wouldn't get blown up, right? That's just how that was every time. Dink kept it on him in terms of the front liners. He made sure that they had a hard time doing such a thing. Wizdude, same thing. That overpower, they had to respect that thing. Being in the back line meant that they could apply a lot of pressure to them as well, but even still, the Deadliest Sins are the ones that overtake this one. 109,000 for Electrified as well. That Strix, like you said, you're playing into a Strix. That's still hard to do. When you win off the back of a Genos through time and space, you can't count on that being the situation all the time, but you still have a Strix in the back line that you have to worry about, that you still have to answer, and 109,000 damage is indicative of that. Same thing can be said for the rest of his teammates being able to provide a lot of that damage and pressure on their side. But that's going to be the North American Bronze match. Be sure that you guys tune in right after this break, and we're going to be able to be right into the North American Finals. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Paladins Central Minor League. That was the North American Bronze match we just ended up watching, but now we're the North American Finals for this week's Paladins Central Minor League. I'm excited to see this game as well because if last finals from EU were great, I mean, this one, like by proxy, has to be great, right? I mean, we've just seen gone to the very, very last point every time in all the sets today. I'm excited to see this one.
Yeah, these two teams have been both in this region forever. I mean, Eugene previously, I don't think they were redacted before this. The kind of a mix of that roster there with them having Vanity, Shuxius. They were the triple Shuxius team in the past, who I believe since then they've picked up Yui. And then the team on the other side, Team Weimer, aka Michael, aka Speaker Lobster, aka Eggs on the Bread. All of those teams. Names attached to the same relative roster. They have been basically winning everything in North America. So the impetus here is on Team Eugene to turn things around against them here on Bazaar, which is going to be map number 1. Something we see banned 90% of the time. So kind of surprising to see it coming out this early in the set.
Well, let's head right into the picks and bans for this match. See if the draft's going to be any different. I mean, I still have the EU bracket in my head, man. I mean, like the bans were so different. The picks were so different every time. It's really hard not to just enjoy that as a whole. But even still, the return to normalcy can't be I really
the Discord you were just invited to, please just tab in and look at the picture that they
Okay. Well, Team Weimer is
very
here.
Sorry. I'm so sorry.
Weimer is here on the blue team versus UG, which what an interesting team name, if anything. And that's very, very good look for them so far. You have Ash on the ban column on the side of blue team and with Weimer, and with Eugene, they're still trying to figure out what it is that they actually want to ban here. It's actually going to end up being the Vivian. That's going to be a very good look for them, and pretty consistent, honestly. You have the Genos and you have the Corvus.
Yeah, both of those picks are going to be a big deal in this set. I think both teams play them to a decent level. Eugene maybe might prioritize them a little bit more than Team Weimer. I think Weimer is possibly more flexible in that sense, but they want to get rid of some aggression and some strong hit scan from Eugene. Vivian, though, as the only band there, I want to see if they play that. Don't you dare put that on stream, Jithens. Actually, I don't care. It's fine. Vivian, as the only band, they're probably going to go for another backline instead. Maybe I wouldn't be shocked to see Victor joining them here as well, here for Bazaar. Actually, now that I think more about it being Bazaar, the Vivian band is a little interesting because you can kind of just range her here, but they're going to have to play to focus on one of those pockets instead. And this puts Weimer in a weird situation because now they have to choose between, well, we get Genos or Corvus. They get Genos or Corvus, and an addition to it, whatever they want. So we have to make sure that this Genos pickup that we have here is going to have to be a impactful one. It's going to have to be one that whatever we get following it can outpace their basically pick of the litter on the side of Eugene.
Yeah, Asterix, Vivian, Torvald, all out of the mix here. Genos on one side, on the side of Weimer, and then on the side of Eugene, you have Rom and Corvus available to them. Corvus is definitely a good look here, especially for Rom. Also, this is the first time we've seen Rom all day, and yet we've seen him in the ban column in matches where he hasn't even been picked, let alone considered. So it's good to see Rom return here. And also, Bazaar is going to be the first map here. I mean, I know we mentioned it a bit earlier, but even still, it's interesting to see Bazaar be first pick in a set. Typically, it's Jag. Typically, it's Bright. You want to see those maps more than anything, well, depending on what team it is you're playing on, but they feel more comfortable here in Bazaar. Genos, Victor, that's a great look. Perfect backline to be coupled by the Genos damage amp, if anything. And of course, they have another front line they could pick. At this point, I would imagine they would pick Anara. Or is that?
Possibly, but they can play that. They have a Genos. They can kind of play any point tank, probably at this point, depending on what point tank Eugene get. Because if they go Anara Rom, then honestly, Weimer could end with like Sky or Cassie, just melt them through. Now that they have this really high health pool, this could be kind of a trap that Eugene are walking into, depending on how Weimer decide to end things. But Kinessa will make things a little bit harder. Now they need some more mobility if the Xin can't do it alone. Maybe even like a solo off tank here to play with it, or a Ying. So that would probably be focusing lens. So some more damage. So they are lacking the flank potential and that shred potential. Unless maybe they do end with that Sky and have that. But it'll be Terminus instead, which makes sense, I think, in particular. Into that Kinessa, you need someone who can time their shields, block an infinite amount of damage, and return some of that damage right back into that Anara. But Eugene is the team that gets the Sky. not even as a counter pick because it's their last pick. It's just what they wanted into what they saw.
Yeah, Ying, Terminus, last 2 picks. Kinessa, Sky, last 2 picks on the side of Eugene. And interesting to see the Sky sort of return here, if anything. But we'll have to see how both of these comps are going to be once we head right into game, which we could do right now. Jithas take us right into Bazaar. As we're gonna, I'm interested to see these drafts play out. I mean, first time we've seen Zen all day. First time we've seen Ying all day. I think the first time we've seen Sky all day. I've seen Sky enough to the point to where I've been like, okay, well, we've seen her in professional broadcasts before.
Just meta now.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's like, well, what do we do now?
Sky, this is how Sky always used to have to be played, though. Kind of just defensive as a poke and some team support, right? Old Sky, pre-Smoke and Dagger, you played her with Debilitate, and you just shredded some tanks kind of defensively. But here we're going to see it in a little bit of a different light. We're going to see it healing the Inara, speed boosting the Inara, and just stopping them from getting aggressive on the sides. But we'll see what Toa and Kwashi get away with here in the top left as they take a little bit of room. And actually interesting that they're just using these illusions to counter poke, but Kwashi can't do it all the time, even with Spring Bloom 5.
Eugene Weimer duking it out right now. 15% to 3 seems to be the case for now. Merc finds 1 kill directly from the victor. Azta finds 1 soon after that. Merc with a nice little double as Rom now has to reconsider his options here. He has to back off of this fight. Now he's definitely going to sprint out, especially when he's being rushed down there. 39% available for Weimer as they're now able to have a stronger zone on things. And the percentage is still steadily rising. I don't know how Eugene are going to be able to make it back as effectively.
I'm not sure if they really can. They have only Rom for mobility. Otherwise, they're going to have to rely on the sustain purely of that Inara, I think, to get in. But no one stops the Rom. He makes it in, but now he has to take a lot of damage. Coming in, Stalingrad completely collapsed on by everybody. Can't escape that angle from Victor. And the Siphon stops him from getting any health.
Yeah, already it seems like they've been holding on to the control that they've had for so long. Shuxius finds 1. Manages to get the kill off of the Ying. They don't have a healer anymore, but do they really need it when the percentage is up this much? Spites his way all the way up in the high ground. Now Kinessa has to deal with the fight on that front. Merc with the double kill. Toei with 1. And that's still going to be enough for them to maintain control over the objective that they had for so long here. Really haven't given it up at all. Another kill, one after the other. 99% to a point conversion for Weimer. That's going to be the first point on Bazaar and the first point in the set.
And they can definitely take this more forward. They already have 2 picks, so we'll see how much more ground they can really make up for it. But look at this angle that the Victor already has, getting some dismounts. Knocking Corvus very low. Vanity actually has to go all the way back to spawn, it looks like. Kind of stuck up there. As they get a lot of damage, they can really trade into any of them because there's a Terminus, Siphon, or a Zin in each angle, and they just live that. And this Ying ult will let them get even more aggressive.
2 minutes available still. They are able to make the pressure happen. They just were able to capture the cart, but once again, bringing up the time purely based off of the fact that they've rolled this cart with 2 minutes remaining, around the corner and way over past the halfway point, as you have 4 ultimates available on the
side of Eugene. A lot of ults in the pocket here. Here comes a time bomb though, and it looks like it won't really find anyone. They all disengage, but it makes them all walk into a seismic crash. It stuns the entire team, and Scuff just runs them down right afterwards. Everybody sent reeling, basically just Yanara still pushing them away. Merc managed to stay alive, barely same with Toa, but that was a dangerous situation for Weaver to get stuck in.
Yeah, already a minute of 15 still on the clock, available to him. The time is fluctuating every now and again. Obviously, it consistently keeps decreasing, but in the long run of how things are going, it's still going to make it pretty prominent that these guys are still in so much control. Merc with the headshots, pretty much just melting everyone. They're stuck in the corner. As the Master with a double kill, another one. Make that a triple. Corvus stuck all the way in spawn. There's nothing much that he can do.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way he can really contest Inara. Maybe makes it in time, but just ends up feeding Merc some credit, sends some ult charge. Not that he really needed either of those at this point with how they've been successful already. Inara and Sky both not having their ultimates back because of the timing that they spent at Cataclysm. Also missing here as well. A lot of ultimates will be available for Team Weimer. Only have to worry about the Headhunter. But they could just, honestly, if she tries to use the Headhunter, they could just kill her with a barrage. Most of the times, Kinessa's kind of commit to that, so won't really be as easy for them to deal with. Just Kinessa will take 2 and end up falling. On this mid, it's going to be a very tough mid fight. honestly,
Mm.
for them to go through with all the ultimates up on the other side, because not only do you have to go through 2 tanks, that wall of damage that's in the way will make things even harder. Plus, that Terminus is constantly matching the ROM, which
Right.
is a really big deal. ROM gets health from hitting people, right? He gets health from every certain amount of bullets that connects on an enemy. If it's hitting a shield, if it's hitting a siphon, he doesn't get soul fragments. And that is literally the only thing that makes ROM stay alive, the only thing that makes ROM as strong as he is. Put a siphon in front of him, not only are you feeding Term, but you're also not getting your benefit, and you will die almost instantly to a good DPS like Merc on this Victor.
Right, exactly. And I mean, a lot of the times that we've seen Rom, he hasn't really been able to find that sort of opportunity, even if he wasn't shooting into the siphon. Though most of the time, he's eating a lot of this damage from Merc. And I think that plays into exactly what you were saying. Shooting into that siphon doesn't give him soul fragment. Merc is going to be able to pretty much eat him alive thanks to the fact that that siphon is going to be up and grabbing, a lot of this aggro from the boys on Eugene, from Team Eugene, if anything, and that's already 3 of them. Oh my goodness, I blinked and then he was already gone. Shuxius, what what positioning immediately from, okay, and now Shuxius is gonna go down soon after that, 12% to 31. They were able to get a little bit, but Weimer, they're not gonna take this one lying down.
And there's the Ying value. Literally, this is what Kwashi does in Pugs. Straight up. He goes Ying, he goes behind you, he stands behind an illusion and dismounts you, and he's going to do the same thing here in an actual match. He has to watch for this Kin, though, because this Kin will come back, but again, same problem here for Shucks. Just literally cannot go through this, although probably should be putting these illusions in the open where he can actually use them as cover, but big ol' hitbox apparently managing to keep him in the fight as this Kinessa is literally completely zoned out by a Ying poking for no damage across the map.
87% to 4-2. They've already made it onto the point behind them. Bega Wow manages to use it through time and space, but doesn't find the kill. Scuff's already found 2, but at the same time, he's eating a lot of damage. Impersonation gets shot from the back. Shuxius is there to make sure that he has a say in what goes on in this little engagement. Got zoned out for the most part, but they're going to take care of the Terminus. Now, they have the comeback mechanic. Now, they can keep the fight going and maybe even capture the point, because I don't know if anyone's really going to be able to make it back in time. You have that comeback mechanic. Yeah, there's no way. The dismounts early, not going to be able to capture this one. Eugene now make it a 1-2 instead of it being a 2-0.
Yeah, they managed to hold on for now with this cart still continuing to go, but this barrage coming in, Shucks manages to hide from it, but that siphon kept Merc going through all of it as they have this ground trying to be taken on the right side. The Sky Rom combination. Look at this early poke that they're actually getting onto this Kinessa. Shucks gets healed up by True Grit, but already knocked so low.
Oh, already manages to find one. Merc moving from one target to the next. He's able to melt down another unsuspecting individual. The Terminus is already pushed up, managing to find the damage where possible. Uses all of his siphon charges to burst down the Rom. Rom is still there, of course, manages to get killed. Turns around, Shatter falls. The Inara, that's going to be a double for him. Now they have the opportunity to take a breath of fresh air, move forward, and get their zone on the side of Weaver.
Yeah, they'll take quite a bit of ground, but Aztef has to play safe. I think they're just watching for the Kin, maybe taking this left angle just to have that info. They do definitely think that that ground is going to be covered soon, but Hegel actually falls to the Kinessa. So hard to predict what angle they're going to be going in, and now Lemur knows they just have to run in and make some value out of this. Look at this forced seismic crash. I mean, what is Yui doing? there was absolutely no reason for that, but Shucks gets around on the flank, and even with that ultimate thrown into nothing, they managed to get back on this cart, keep it moving, and have time to charge up the next one.
Well, they've got a minute to do it. In the long run of things, Weimer's team is now just respawning. So they can now make their way out of the spawn and make their way back into the fray. It seems like the cart is slowly rolling forward. Now the shots are going to be delivered from both sides. They're finally back into the battle, able to at least put on a little bit of contest for the boys on Weimer, but also Eugene is holding on pretty well too. Notices Zen is in the back, fires off that shot, but as they've already killed Scuff, that's one member down on the side of Eugene, and now they have free reign to do whatever they want to, and you see that working out for him. Unlucky, the Rom gets blocked by the Terminus Siphon. That's going to be another kill for them.
Yeah, and the damage there onto the Rom completely nullified by the Siphon. That was, again, a big part of why I think this Terminus is kind of a counter pick to it. The Siphon goes there, he's not getting the health, Soul Harvest is all he has, and with that Cauterize on him, it's definitely not enough. Eugene has a lot of ground to cover now, but they're pulling back the Terminus on the other side, I guess to have it in the way of the Rom just in case, but there's too many angles for Aztef to really cover. He's going to have to bail, but at least Weimer gets the first kill if it's not immediately answered back.
Overtime is still, of course, on the cards. Zanara is there. able to at least keep this going for him. The Siphon is up. Void Grip goes out directly onto the ROM. He eats a lot of damage, and now needs to find another way in. Siphon goes up. The minute it goes down, he eats a shot almost instantly. Uses the teleporter to get out of there. Now Zen is behind him. Same thing for the Ying, getting flanked by Ying and a Zen. Not something you expect to see every day, but when you do, evidently you get taken out of the fight almost as quickly as you saw him. ROM goes, it's about to go down at least soon enough. And there he goes, one after the next. Weimer managed to defend this one successfully, making it a 3-1.
And you did almost manage to get his seismic crash back, 77% for that. So they will have it, at least for a time, that maybe is impactful here. Shoutouts to Asdif, by the way, top fragging somehow as Terminus on Bazaar. So a great game for him, obviously. It seems like he's constantly in the right place. Shuxius also kind of the shining star here for Eugene, getting a respectable amount of these kills for his team here. But again, a lot of ultimates on both sides. I think the impact is going to have to come from maybe this Cataclysm, this aggressive dive. I'd love to see a Cataclysm and Time Bomb combo, which not as common, I guess, because ROM tends to outpace Sky with her complete lack of mobility. But there's members on the team they can catch out, whether it be Ying, whether it be Victor. They can force someone out. You can already see the ROM and the Sky kind of combining on the right side, but Inara's already half HP and has to back away.
6% available to Weimer, 9%, just a little bit more. Exactly 3% more than the 6% they had before. ROM has to make his way out of this fight. Spider in the back line. Scuff gets taken care of. Stuxkius finds one on Merc. Now you have Toa locked in a one-on-one engage with ROM, but ROM has too much of a high health pool for Zen to win that one unless he ends up having the spite. But since he already used it, he's not going to find quite what he's been looking for. But I will say they've been finding plenty of percentage on the objective. 60% is about to be the case for Weimer, I should say, but really it's stuck at 59 for right now, 57, excuse me, for right now. Still holding on as best as they can, still not giving up any of the percentages at all. You have the
Earthquake.
Mirage as well, manages to shake up the competition, manages to find one more kill. Scuff is taken out of the fray here, it's 81%, and the percentage has not stopped climbing, except for a brief moment when they were able to actually contest on the objective. Inara is there, but they're finding and killing everyone around them. Now they gotta find a way in, find a better way to take care of her. Wall goes down, and now they have the Inara in their back pocket. Another kill for the team of Weimer. 99% available. No one else is going to be able to touch, but the overtime is still a factor, and that's going to be all she wrote. Weimer going to be able to keep this one in the bag, making this the first point against Team Eugene.
Yeah, and their first pick on Bizarre definitely ended up working in their favor. The comp that they ended up with was pretty solid into them. They get the Ying specifically to harass the Kinessa, and I specifically say harass because that Ying was not going to kill the Kinessa.
Right.
True grit triggers on the clones is the biggest thing. If it didn't, then Kwashi would actually have probably killed that King a significant amount of time, but still able to heal and force them out. And the draft from Eugene definitely not able to follow up as well. I'm still actually not exactly sure what the Sky's plan was. It played with the ROM, it sped him up, but the Siphon being in the way still made things very hard for it. Scuff, not the most solid performance with the top deaths on the team. Just a very difficult matchup for him, I think. And there was no real way for Eugene to get onto Merc other than Shucks just popping off.
Yeah, and it seems like things are making it even harder on the side of Eugene because of the fact that even though Shucks got a lot of those kills, there were still times where he had to back way far up. Couldn't even be close enough. There were times where he was forced to back thanks to Toa, thanks to thanks to the Zen, thanks to the Ying, just forcing them all the way back and away from the fight. Shuxius had to find his way back, and of course he found his way back in and managed just to get the kills and get the damage for his team, top frags and top damages for him. But even in the long run, those brief moments where he was forced back, wasn't able to commit to the fight entirely, means that he pretty much just wasn't able to do that output damage. They were able to kill everyone else.
Yeah, and Merc doing so much damage to those tanks, 152,000 for him. You can tell by the damage soaked up by Majesty and by Yui there. I mean, 184,000 on those tanks in a 4-1 is kind of unreal for that team. Asdif still soaking up a decent amount himself, but a lot of that going into the Siphon. Just no real, again, other than Shucks, there was really no damage on the side of Eugene. I mean, Scuff, yeah, he brought some healing, only 20k, but only 28,000 damage for him in a getting out damage by both of his tanks in a kind of rough game.
Yeah, and that's definitely something you have to keep in mind as well going into this next game. Make sure that you learn the mistakes that you may not have understood in the game that you played previously. rectify those, and then be ready to have your head in the game for the next one, right? I mean, that's just the common trend. That's how you have to do it, no matter what competitive game
Mhm.
it is that you're playing. And that's going to be the longer run option here for these teams, especially if Weimer won it so convincingly. You're going to want Eugene to try and bring out some better strategy, see if they can help him out, because that ROM wasn't able to do much of anything. You mentioned it before, that Siphon, and we saw it happen multiple times. That Siphon made it very, very hard to really do much of anything in the case of that ROM. But let's head right back into the picks and bans. I got where this map is going to end up being Ice Mines. I guess it's just to sort of slow things down, if anything. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, the great equalizer. That's something that we need to. That's something that we always want to pick, if anything.
Yeah, and I think I guess they really do want to slow things down, but Bazaar should have been slow, right? And teams don't normally cap on Bazaar, but they still managed to make it happen. Eugene, though, this is a map that can still have their normal picks on it, right? Let's say take the same draft as last map, whoop, whoop, pop it here, it'll still be
Right.
totally fine. But we can see, just looking at Team Weimer, their draft also can work exactly the same. The Terminus will function. Victor, great. Zin, great. They can still have basically the same amount over there. And the bans, different for Eugene, but the same for Team Weimer. They do not want the controller players to get that Vivian, which makes a lot of sense. In my opinion, is blasters are the target from Eugene. Bomb King will be the first. I'm kind of surprised that BK is that direction. Maybe to me, that screams that they're either looking for a kind of death ball composition or they wanted a con of some kind. A con would have been, it could be an interesting choice by them here.
Right, exactly. And it seems like they could potentially get that one, but we'll only be able to tell once they actually figure out their other bans. Bomb King, Vivian, both gone on both Eugene and Weimer respectively. Torvald is going to be the final ban for Team Eugene, as now Weimer have to figure out their final ban, see what's going to go on here. Vivian is the first ban they wanted to make, but who will be the last one? They have the Corvus and Genos open. I can't imagine they would want to ban one of the two pocket picks, because that only leaves one open for Eugene. So I wonder who they're going to end up banning this time around. Do they feel who do you think they feel the need to ban for? Or it doesn't even matter. They're actually going to get rid of one of the pocket picks. They're actually going to even they're going to allow one of them to be open on the side of Eugene. They're just going to let them have the Corvus, I suppose.
And it will force them into that Corvus if that is what they want to do. Grover, though, is fantastic on this map. So if Eugene pick up that Corvus, Weimer get Grover for themselves, and they get another pick of their choice, whether it be a sniper of some kind, Strix, or what have you, on them. Eugene with quite a few options available to them. I could even see Terminus taking a high priority here, considering it is Ice Mines and it is one of his best maps, and so he will be that first pick. That means that Weimer gets their choice of support. Corvus would be a great option, but also, like I said, Grover is still fantastic. Maybe they even go Grover here over the Corvus, actually, just to take it away from the Terminus. Him being able to cleanse Cauterize pretty easily and then get Whirlwinded up is going to be a good combo there for Eugene, but Weimer get rid of the Corvus instead, and they go for their ROM. ROM can get into the window very easily, so if Team Eugene ends up with a sniper again, having that ROM, I think it's going to be a boon to the team.
And I also think, taking into consideration that this is Ice Mines, the fact that ROM will be able to have a lot more space to run through. Terminus isn't going to be in the same area as ROM most of the time because of how Ice Mines works as a map. So maybe that Siphon won't be as detrimental to the team, depending on what happens in these mid fights and on the pushes. But
yeah, we'll see how the rest of the draft goes for them. They do get that Grover from their side as they're still going here. Grover will be, like I said, the follow up there, and it'll be decent into that ROM as well to slow him down, or I mean, just dead stop him, more so of a dead stop than a slowdown. Definitely for them. Eugene should get a DPS here, unless they want to just focus their point tank. Maybe they think a Nara could be valuable if they want that end term off tank, but of course it will be a sniper, one that has a type of DPS that has risen to prominence on Ice Mines, thanks to Stigma, the first one to pull it out and find success with it.
It already seems like Corvus ROM, once again, already the first two picks on the side of Weimer. We're going to have to pick two more characters, and of course that leaves open their DPS, which one of them will be Victor, and the other one I would imagine have to be a flank. I want to make sure that Strix is as uncomfortable as possible. It's actually going to be a con here, but they have plenty of time to pick that flank. They had plenty of opposition to be able to do that anyways. Like, if they're going to lock them out of flanks, there are plenty that can deal with Strix when he's just chilling in the back line in Ice Mines, when he's playing by window, if anything. So Eugene, they're going to pick their last two characters. They already picked one tank. They've got a healer. It's actually going to be Lex. Interesting. What do you?
Okay.
How do you feel like the Lex will play in the Weimer's team so far?
It's great into the ROM. The Lex ROM matchup is very sad. That's literally the best thing I can say. It is just sad for the ROM because Lex just farms off of him. It is a little bit RNG reliant with those rerolls, but it is still definitely a strong for the Lex. And an Atlas to close things out. Some poke will be powerful, and a Tiger coming from Team Weimer. Tiger is a little bit underrated in North America right now, but the slow and the explosive from the blade will do quite a bit and actually might help him win those duels into that Lex, especially when paired with that Corvus.
Both drafts are locked in. We're back here on Ice Mine. It's been a while since I've seen this map, but I'm happy to cast it all the same. Let's head right into the game and see what is in store for us with these two interesting drafts. You know, I was thinking that Tiberius would end up being locked in here because of the fact that we've seen it happen before where they've had these snipers on ice mines, and Tiberius pretty much farms around corners. We know this. We know that his chakrams can bounce, and it makes it that much more prominent for them to be able to pressure them. And of course, the fact they have Illuminate as well, they want to put as much pressure on Shuxias as they possibly can, and I think that's going to work out pretty well for them.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that will definitely let them be able to stay aggressive. Also, I want to make a note of this Terminus, maybe a little bit harder to play now that there is a Tiberius on the other side combined with a Khan. The Tiger can just throw the heavy blade through the Siphon. I mean, that's a lot of damage guaranteed on him, plus that big slow, which will make him easier to surround and collapse on if he can't back away. But look at all of that Siphon just spent right away from Yui. Only one charge to really show for it, but feeds off the ROM, gets some of it back, and Eugene managed to maintain their poke.
Already 15% available for Eugene, as you have 3% for Weimer. The shots are being broken out all over the place, but a good critical axe from Merc is going to keep Victor in his spots, force him to eat a little bit more damage. They're trying to win these fights. Scuff is trying to put pressure on Asdiv. They aren't really able to put on much, honestly. They want to push in on the sides here, but they're being forced back time and time again. Most of the time, they are being healed back up. Everyone has health pools that are low, but Yui is going to be the first one that goes down 21% to 27 against Eugene, and they're going to be the ones that end up not having the tie be there anymore, not having the deficit of a couple of percentages there. Now Weimer are the ones in lead over Eugene.
I mean, Eugene need to just take a little bit more ground. They're just letting their Terminus waste his Siphon on the point because they're not feeding it on the other side. They're just letting him hold it out and getting that time spent. But Toa already has the ultimate. He's in the middle of them here and going to do some quick cancel spins to get a lot of damage, but they only get one kill.
But that's still good enough because now they found the opportunity to push in. Everyone wants to get a piece of this action. 2% already, not 2%, 2 double kills are going to be able to be brought out from both members on the side of Weimer. They've wiped out a lot of them already on blue team, and our red team has to find some sort of way to keep on pushing in as they've gained so much percentage for them already to a point conversion.
And they'll keep this going forward. They have the range to go for these dismounts, but they have to be very careful of Shuxias here on the Strix. This is the area of the map where snipers tend to farm the most when they have that long angle that they can play, and you can tell with these tanks kind of having to stick around the corner, but the barrage comes in. Shux uses the tactical retreat to escape. The benefits of the loadout, keeping them alive. But honestly, we should just push right down main, but they're choosing to go the other way and fight this Atlas instead.
Already, it seems like they're plugging damage into the Atlas. They do find the kill they've been looking for as Weimer are still in control here. Lex around the corner, going to use the Cataclysm. What an ultimate. Talk about overkill. That's exactly what you love to see. That's the sort of BM I can personally get behind, is the fact that you use that ultimate just to kill an already low health target. Don't need to use it, but just making a statement. You love to see it. 1 minute and 40 seconds still remaining to Weimer as they are now rounding the corner and about to be extremely close to rolling this one in. As they push up a little bit too far, though, this Scope's going to take him out of the fray.
He got step backed in, so very unfortunate by Astif, but this is definitely the hardest part of the map. When you have that Strix sitting in the spawn, just literally invincible. The only real way for them to deal with him is that con overpower, right? Just pull him back over and then win the fight off of that. But if you do that, then you don't have overpower for mid. It is very, very difficult to make that decision. They won't be making that decision anytime soon with that setback and Lex aggressive combination onto Merc, getting Eugene a lot of space.
1 minute and 5 seconds still available to them, so they've got some time to make their way in. But even in the long run of how things are right now, they aren't really forcing them back too much. Eugene have gotten the kills, but they're still holding their ground pretty effectively. It still works out for them in the long run so far. They have 45 seconds remaining.
They are trying to take some ground, and actually Scuff does finally get lucky He does get that cycling mark onto Asdiff, which is, again, the best one here. The overpower actually does get used onto Shucks, exactly like I said, and now they can try to walk in, but they still have to go through all this, but they set back the wall!
No! Oh my goodness, they actually ended up missing the Lex ultimate, and they're gonna lose the fight because of this. If you guys didn't see what happened, if you didn't understand what went there, what just transpired up in high ground, they set back the ROM when Lex was trying to ultimate, would have killed him, and they missed it because of the setback, and they rolled the card in because of that.
Oh, no.
Oh my goodness, they had an opportunity, and it's just a miscommunication.
I mean, how do you communicate that? You don't say, hey, listen, when this Lex charges in and he's low enough, I will maybe execute him. There's no way to communicate that. Just unfortunate for Eugene. That is a shattering to the mental for sure. After the Raw manages to live with all that combined onto him. Kwashi actually, by the way, undying still on this con after that pull, and 33% still saved back up, so that'll definitely be something that they hope to charge during this mid, but Eugene do still have quite a bit of ultimates even after that mess with the law there. They have their Reanimate, they have their Whirlwind, a lot of things that will help, but they have no real good initiation. It's going to have to be maybe off of the Exile, and Strix just waiting for them to come out of the stun.
Already seems pretty prominent for them on the side of Weimer. So far, they're tossing in chakrams every now and again. Let's see if they can find some sort of opportunity for him, managing to get those hits around the corner, but use the Exile just to make sure that they stay as far back as possible. They managed to hit one, but they already have to use the setback. Scuff gets killed just as soon as he was about to retreat. He had no health, but Merc takes advantage of that and makes sure that he puts him in the dirt. Tiberius tossing out the chakrams means that you're going to have to deal with some bouncing chakrams all over the place. The enemy play damage is going to be so much, and now Strix is extremely low. Keep bouncing them off. Don't get the kill around the corner. The chakrams are going to be a little bit too much, and now Alice is going to be the one that ends up falling soon after that. They have control over this match, and Ice Mines, I don't like calling it early, but it seems like they already have control over this one. I don't know what Eugene could do if they can't figure something out soon.
And they got predatory instincted, honestly. No real way to make something else happen out of that. And that bouncing poke around the corners made things very difficult. Eugene, they have Toad down. That's a lot of poke gone. They still have to worry about Merc, of course, but that is just one angle. That will make things a lot easier for Yui to take this ground here. But Asdiv is far forward, and he uses the Cataclysm, forcing that second chance, but nothing else really found just yet.
Yeah, it seems like they're able to at least maintain control over their zone here. They trade out things 1-for-1, but they actually make it more uneven when they get rid of Scuff. Now it's a 2-for-1 trade, as now things want to keep on pushing forward. Shuxius keeps getting hit around the corner. As soon as he jumps, he's going to get killed almost instantly. You've got so much time left on the clock, but very little space for the cart to be able to be converted right now. Eugene, have to find out something that's going to work out for him.
Setback here. Well, we'll slow them down just a little bit, but they could just wait for this shield to walk out, but they're actually going to take a totally different angle instead. They rotate to fight that Terminus. Definitely not the way you want to be, but Merc is here to fight Atlas, and they have to chain all this CC against him just to slow things down.
They use the Exile. They find one, they find two, and they manage to exile somebody in the back line here. Tiberius still doesn't go down despite the fact that Yui was pushing up. Merc with a double kill. Merc with a triple kill. What is happening over there with Merc? He's just in a better spot. I think he's in a better spot than they're able to really deal with. Fighting more and more damage. Shuxius is actually able to get the kill here, but I don't think they'll be able to hold on for much longer. Seems like Toei is just, I guess, just messing around for a little bit.
He was trying to find a bounce, but he couldn't find it. Honestly, that should give you your ammo back. If you do that, he should catch him again. You know, maybe like a champion with a keystone, like you were talking about before. A certain one from that game here. Some poke though coming in from Eugene, and maybe the initiation, but it looks like Asdiv just trying to get away.
Yeah, 40 seconds remaining, but you see how close the card is already. They're definitely not going to need 40 seconds to roll. This one is, as far as it seems like right now, but Eugene are holding on pretty well. They have a pretty good angle on everything. Toei, Tiberius making his way right back in. As the Axes are going to keep getting tossed out here. Lex is just chilling out for the most part, just trying to find a better opportunity. Here comes Asdiv, gets set back immediately. That's going to be a good look for him. Cataclysm, as soon as he hits the ground, manages to stun one. Two of them already done. Whirlwind gets used, tried to save his teammates, but you're not going to be able to save much of anything here. There's one, there's another. Weimer turn this one around, and make sure they close this one out 2-0 already for the Paladins.
Definitely representing the family legacy pretty well for me, it seems, as they take another week. I want to say in a row. I feel like they won the last 3. I mean, one of them will surely be in chat to correct me if I'm wrong, but this dominant performance by them in North America. Even when they were Michael, even when they were Speaker Lobster, they have almost always came out successful, basically, there in the end. So, and the week before that, I'm hearing from Jithins. I'm just getting words of their accolades in my ears from Jithins. So I think that can speak for itself.
Right, exactly. And that's definitely a team that you have to keep in mind proceeding on from this point. It's just overall too good to see matches like this, like as the day has just progressed consistently. But even still, Ice Mines, the first time that we've seen this map today, is there anything they could have done in their draft better? Anything that you could have felt like Eugene just could have done better overall, other than the setback into Miss Lex Ultimate?
I mean, clearly this Atlas struggled. They were playing the poke game, but maybe they needed a blaster of some kind just to lock down those chokes a little bit better instead of just taking the duel when they come around the corner. You know, like Scuff can fight them, but they still have to peek. Whereas if they had a Bomb King, if they had a Dredge or a Willow or something, that could actually stop them from pushing that corner. I just don't know how capable they are of playing those characters. I haven't seen them have that level of flexibility, and I think they might need that on a map like Ice Mines. It's why they banned Bomb King, but there's plenty of other blasters that could have helped them fill the same role.
Yeah, and a couple of them going undying on the team of Wimmer as well. 70k healing overall on the side of Corvus. I mean, that's a great look, honestly. I mean, 6,000 damage, but that's what you would expect from your support, if anything. He's healing everyone up, keeping everyone alive, and it goes to show that Asdif was able to keep a lot of that pressure on because of the fact that they were by Barn. We saw an engagement with Scuff versus Asdif by Barn, and like you said, Discovery is great. It's a great time to be able to have that retribution, to be able to use that, make sure that you do more damage to your bounty targets. But that RNG played a huge role. He wasn't able to win a lot of those trades because of the fact that when he needed Rom to be the target, he wasn't. He just wasn't. And it didn't end up working out for him that way.
Hey, listen, last time we're ever going to see that happen, though.
Yeah, but I mean,
literally starting next patch. Ah, yes. Excellent. I wasn't expecting it to be like this. But this is the logo of Team Weimer. I asked for the neckbeard to be removed, and unfortunately, they obliged, and they did remove it. Even if I do look a little bit like all right. Wait, wait. Is it tracking? Okay, no.
Oh,
that is Gangstar's bald Thanos here as the logo for Team Weimer. Wait, let me sit up and get into it here. No, oh, okay. Well, it's gone anyway. We had to do something to celebrate their 3 weeks of victory, and maybe we should have waited until they find success next week. I don't know. Maybe we're celebrating for them a little bit early.
Yeah, maybe we are celebrating a little bit early. To be honest with you, that's all the matches we have today for the Palace Central Minor League. We did Europe, we did North America.
It's all a blur fun. Now it's all a blur.
Yeah. Be sure that you tune in on Thursday at 12 at 1 2 and 3 respectively. 1 on Thursday, 2 on Friday. 2 on Friday, and 3 on Saturday respectively as the week goes on. That's all it is. I gotta say.
How's we can end it?
Eggs on the bread. Just as you can close it out.